Yes, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's Moser, Lombardi and Kane. Only namesake in today, Mr. Vic Lombardi, the venerable Mr. Vic Lombardi. I'm Rob Trujillo filling in.
Don't you dare call me venerable.
Because you don't know what it means? Or?
I know what it means, and I'm not venerable at all. How you doing, Robbie?
Good, man. I'm excited. The sun's kind of fighting through here. I thought we were going to have a wet, rainy day. Sun trying to make its way out on this Friday. Get us started for the weekend. And I'm trying to be positive, Vic, because I just did an hour of sports talk radio that turned real dark when we were talking about Jerry Jeudy.
That was a unfortunate situation. Probably the worst case scenario for an offense that is looking for weapons, an offense that's looking to score, and probably its most explosive pass-catching weapon is now down for the count. And I don't know how long that count is. Anybody who suffered a hamstring injury, listen, dude, he couldn't get off the field.
Right.
So I don't know if you ever strained your hammy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I've done it multiple times.
Yeah.
I'm sure people have done it all the time. You strain your hammy and you're like, oh, God, I can't walk. And you're like limping off the field. You're limping. You're just trying to get off the field. You're trying to do whatever you can. And it's a month minimum. This guy couldn't get off the field. He had to be carted off the field. Dude, I hate to paint one of these pictures. I am not a doctor of football. But
venerable.
But when you encounter hamstring injuries, they don't go away during the course of the season very easily. So you come back, what do you think the first thing he's going to be thinking about when he's running a route?
Is my hammy going to hold up?
Yes.
Am I going to tweak it?
That sucks, dude. It's just a horrible incident to occur.
And here's the thing. You hear NFL players all the time talking about the difference between hurt and injured, right? And it's one of those things where you tweak your hammy, it hurts, blah, blah, blah. Get in there, play anyway, because we need you. But if it lingers for the entire season, if you don't have that explosion, if you don't believe in getting in and out of your breaks, in and out of your cuts, it begs the question, do you sit him down for longer than he might need just to make sure he's 100%?
Well, if you put him on the active roster and you occupy a roster spot and he's injured for more than a month, that's playing with fire there because it's going to cost you some personnel. If you put him on the injured reserve list and you just write him off for a certain amount of time, and then for some reason he heals quickly.
Because it's a minimum of what, 4 weeks or 6 weeks?
I think it's a 4-week minimum.
So he's got
injured reserve.
He's got to make it through the cut, be on the roster for the 53, and then the next day you put him on IR.
Exactly, and then the next 4 weeks he's off. So we're 2 weeks from the cut. Actually, less than that. 10 days from the cut.
Yeah.
And then IR. If miraculously he heals before then, which I don't know if he will. Listen, the report is several weeks.
But even if he does heal, Vic, do you want him on the field?
I don't know, man.
Don't you want to hold him out until he's 100%?
You know what this does, though? All the thought last year, and I don't know if you remember this. Oh, man, the strength and conditioning staff for the Broncos just doesn't know what it's doing. I mean, oh, my goodness, look, all these soft tissue injuries. Why do they always happen to the Broncos? It has nothing to do with strength and conditioning. It has to do with a person's body. It has to do perhaps with altitude. It has to do with a lot of other factors. But to put this on Lauren Landau, as I think some did, had nothing to do with Lauren Landau. Nothing.
I think it was fair to ask.
You could ask all you want, but now what?
Well, it's the NFL. It's still going to happen. There was a frequency before that I think was...
But there's always been a frequency of hamstring and soft tissue injuries here. Always.
Yeah.
Go back in the history of the team. Always somebody's pulling something somewhere, and it happens at every camp. Happens at every camp, by the way. But I think dehydration and all that business, it's easier to pull a muscle here. It is. It's easier to pull one.
If altitude has something to do with it, that's interesting.
I am not a scientist. I'm just a doctor. But it's easier to pull a muscle.
But so let's talk about what that means for this team, Vic, because if you're talking about sitting him down, even if it's just, you had originally said weeks, right?
Yeah.
So even if it's just weeks and you're just talking about missing the first game or two, Those are games that you need to win.
There's no doubt about it. That Raiders game we all accounted for as a win.
And the Commanders game.
Exactly right.
Right? And it's that beginning part of that schedule that's a little bit soft that you can get a couple wins. And I was saying to Marty, you got to not only get a couple wins, but be feeling good about your offense when you get into the portion of the schedule that is the Chiefs twice, the Bills. The middle part of that schedule is brutal.
I don't know how else to look at this. There really is no bright side. Folks who try to give you the bright side, there is no bright side. They have to go deeper now on a wide receiving core that was already thin to begin with. KJ Hamler, gone. Tim Patrick, gone. Jerry Jeudy for the temporary being, gone. I mean, those are three big names that big role in your offense, and they're not going to be able to play. So who steps up? You still have Courtland.
And we asked the question yesterday, who are your 5 best
Well, right now,
players?
Off the top of my head, your receiving core right now, off the top of my head, Courtland Sutton, Callaway, Lil Jordan Humphrey. That's 3, correct?
Yeah.
Help me out.
Kendall Hinton probably makes it now.
Brandon Johnson,
Washington. You know what I mean? Like, these are all guys that you were talking about as like, hey, this is good
Those
depth.
are fill-ins.
This could be right.
And
did you mention Mims?
Yes, that's right. I forgot about Mims, the rookie. Lest we forget, they lost Jalen Virgil.
Right.
As well. So, that's the worst news you could get yesterday in terms of who gets injured in what position group. That was awful. I mean, I don't know. Jerry Jeudy just seems jinxed at this point. Cannot get going.
Well, and this was going to be a big year for him in terms of, and I had been one of the people defending him saying, who have his play callers been since he's been in the NFL? Yeah, Pat Shurmur's and you know what I mean? Like Nathaniel Hackett's, and it just hasn't been pretty. And this was an opportunity for him to play in an offense that could not only accentuate his skill, but maybe scheme him open. He had the most talent of any of those wide receivers. Yeah. And now you ask yourself, what is this guy's career going to turn into? He was this year was the balance for
It's a tough one, man. Second day, obviously, of joint practices with the Rams, and everything was going well. From what I'm told, I did not attend yesterday's practices, but things were going great. The Broncos seemed to recover from the previous day. And then all of a sudden, the wind is knocked out of him when he goes down. And the tone of the practice changes. I do appreciate, though, I'll say this. I do appreciate Sean Payton's reaction to stuff like this. He's not a woe is me guy. He's not going to do that.
Yeah.
He's not going to sit up there and go, this is a big blow. We anticipated big things. We're going to have to recalibrate. He's not insensitive about it either, but this is football, man.
It is.
This happens everywhere. This is football.
It is football, but I mean, you got to talk about putting a team on the field still.
You do.
And so I heard names thrown around, Vic, like Jarvis Landry. We mentioned Julio Jones doesn't have a home. T.Y. Hilton played for the Cowboys for like half a season last year. Like, any of these guys do anything for you?
Hell no.
Right? Like, you got to find something, don't you? Don't you have to sign a guy?
Well, I don't know if you have to sign a guy of those names. I mean, there's plenty of guys out there. It doesn't have to be name recognition. There's plenty of lower level guys that will be available at the waiver deadline. There will be. Teams will waive receivers. There will be a ton of receivers available here in a few days.
Sure, but I think you have a good bottom of the roster, like Kendall Hinton, Washington, Johnson. Like, these are all guys who can play.
Back. Jeudy will be back
eventually.
Yeah, he'll be back. So if you're getting the guy back, why would you go get a top-notch guy to replace what you believe to be a top-notch guy?
Because you're probably going to sign him for a vet minimum. It's not like you're actually paying for a top-notch guy.
If available. We'll see. I guarantee they will scour the waiver wire. I want to hear Peyton Manning cut number 2. Again, look at how quick he is about this. And give me cut 2 and 3, just talking about the injury.
Peyton Manning at Broncos?
I'm sorry, Sean Payton. Every time I see Peyton, it confuses me. He was at Broncos camp with his dad.
Yesterday?
Yeah, Archie Manning and Peyton Manning were both there. Sean Payton on the Jeudy injury.
No, it's a hamstring. He'll get an MRI. We'll kind of see where he's at with it, but nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be way too early to say. I mean, typically in our system too, we're bringing receivers in and out. You know, he plays Z, he plays in the sub position for us. And look, you know, we have a lot of guys. Hopefully it's not anything long term.
Okay. How about the fact that a lot of guys are going down with injuries of late?
Someone wrote the other day, and you guys asked me the question. I'm pleased with where we're at. You know, we've had two significant, obviously, an Achilles and an ACL, but I don't. It's just me. I don't believe in being snake bitten, or you know. I think we've had a really good off-season program. Bo and these guys have done a great job of getting. We've a number of players now all coming back in, Justin and Glynchy, and you're going to see these, you know, all healthy and ready for Las Vegas. I think that's. I think if you looked around and you truly tried to analytically evaluate the other 31 teams, I think you'd see that. And I can't speak for a year ago where we were at this time, but I don't feel anything unusual. You want to stay healthy, but you know, and the soft tissue ones are the ones that I feel a little bit more like we got to, you know, those are the ones that are preventative more than, you know, like the Achilles that happen structurally on air, or those are the ones you work to improve on.
You know, I agree and disagree on the soft tissue stuff, the muscle pulls, because you can do all of the, like, how do you deter a muscle pull? How do you prevent it? How do you avoid it? The real only way to avoid it is not to go full top-notch speed until you have to. I mean, how do you avoid? You stretch more? These guys stretch.
I mean, yoga, recovery, all that kind of stuff. I know a lot of teams have put a lot of money into their training room.
Well, that's exactly what the Broncos did in the offseason.
Right, exactly. But I think overall he's right. Overall, this camp hasn't been too brutal when it comes to injuries.
No, it's just the guys that have been injured.
And it's just that room. It's just the wide receiver
It's the guys that have been injured. It's the particular people that have been injured. Let me tell you, Greg Penner and his group went to New York City in the offseason, and they did a big old study. They observed on sports science on what to do to improve this, because it's been a rash of soft tissue injuries. So what happens? Key player, soft tissue injury. I just think at the end of the day, you can't avoid it. At the end of the day, if a muscle's going to pull, it's going to pull, bro.
Well, and that's football, right? It happens.
It's anything. It's not even football. It's any sport.
You know, you had McGlinchey. You've had a couple other injuries here and there. But the fact that you had two major injuries and Jeudy's hamstring in that wide receiver room, that's what makes it feel tough. Because it's just all targeted in that one area. And it's the area that we were paying attention to most, saying like, hey, maybe they've got all this talent that they can cultivate and finally use properly to jump this team to the next level.
And what this does now, when you take away some of his weapons, it just puts more pressure on Russ. It puts more pressure on Russ, where the whole goal coming into this season was to relieve him of some of that pressure. Was to make things easier for him.
Let's talk about that and what the offense is going to look like now, or going to have to look like in the wake of the Jerry Jeudy injury, coming up next on Altitude Sports Radio. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's Moser, Lombardi and Kane. He is Vic Lombardi. I'm Rob Trujillo filling in. On a day that sows some doubt in the minds of Denver Bronco fans as to what we're looking forward to for this next year.
It's unfortunate. Tomorrow night, everyone's going to get their first glimpse at the new scoreboard and all the enhancements at Mile High Stadium. They've done a lot of work, $100 million worth of work. I'm going out there today, right after the show. They're providing a tour complete with treats, ice cream, drinks.
Better than the plums that you pull out of
Exactly.
your pocket.
I've got 2 plums with me, as I do every morning, and you wonder why I pull 2 plums out of my pocket.
I can feel it down in my plums.
Exactly right. I have the plums that I feel right here.
Like right out of the pocket. Like, no, we don't rinse them.
That's so. You and both Ches yesterday reacted with such awe. Like, you've never seen a grown man pull plums out of his pocket?
No.
It's just weird that you were sitting for like 35 minutes and then you took them out.
Yeah.
Like, that had to be uncomfortable.
I got big pockets.
Or small plums.
I got nice plums in my pockets. And they stay there, and when I'm ready to go, I go. I dig them out.
And not only do you dig them out, but just right into the mouth of them. Like, you didn't blow them off. There was no brushing.
Blow them off. What do you blow off on a plum?
The lint
Pocket
in your
lint,
pocket.
yeah.
You guys
what
are
else
weird.
you put in there?
You guys, I don't understand what
Trying to get a
world you
little
guys live
extra
in.
fiber or something.
Eat the damn plum. You don't have to blow off the plum.
Just right out of the pocket, right into your mouth.
It's a damn
weird.
good fruit, by the way.
Weird.
It's one of my favorite fruits. Top 4 fruits. Watermelon, for me, is number 1.
Are we really breaking down?
Just real quick.
Okay.
Watermelon, number 1. Nectarine, number 2. Plum, 3. Apple, 4. In that order.
If you'd like to power rank your fruits.
Oh, wait, I forgot about bananas. Damn it.
Oh, those got to be like number 1. The way you hork them down.
You big potassium guy?
Well, maybe the Broncos ought to think about more bananas.
Hey, maybe it would help with the soft tissue injuries that they've been dealing with over the past couple years. So I want to talk about what it means that this offense has to look like. But one of the points that I wanted to make is if he's out, let's say 6 weeks. That's the first 4 weeks of your regular season.
That would mean you place him on IR,
right,
and then wait a couple weeks after he's available to play him.
Well, 6 weeks from now
would be the 4 weeks of
would
IR.
be the 4 weeks into the season.
Sure.
And your first 4 games are Las Vegas at home, Washington at home, at Miami, at Chicago. And if you really want to talk about making the playoffs, you got to win 3 of those.
You got to get off to a good start.
Yeah, I mean, you have to win 3 of those, don't you, Vic?
You have to get out to a better start than they did last year. Put it that way.
And so what does this offense have to look like if you don't have Jerry Jeudy there?
Conservative offense, rely on defense, don't turn the ball over, win close games. The one thing the Broncos could not do last year is win close games. Right?
Yeah.
They won against San Francisco. That was a close game that went to overtime.
Yeah.
But most of the close decisions went to the other team.
Yeah. Seahawks game,
yes.
Colts game. You could name a whole bunch of them.
And I think Sean Payton, as a game manager, and he's told us he's very good at it, you have to be competent enough to call a game to win a close game. And I think that's what they're going to have to do. Every NFL game's a close game. Who are we fooling to begin with?
Yeah.
Right? They're all close games to begin with. But man, it's not going to be as high flying as you think, perhaps, right? It's not. It's just, I watched the Pittsburgh Steelers last night, a preseason finale against Atlanta. And I don't know if those of you listening watched that game. Pittsburgh's first 2 drives, I'm watching Pickett throw it. He's slinging it all over the yard. The way they move the ball in explosive fashion, I swear to God, I have not seen a drive from the Broncos that even resembles any of those 2 drives I saw from Pittsburgh last night. Not one.
And granted, it's preseason, but this is how the AFC in general feels to
Not
me.
one drive. That reminisced me of last night watching Pittsburgh.
I mean, who are the teams that you really think are going to be bad in the AFC? Vegas.
Well, Houston is going to be bad.
Houston
is going to be a bad football team because if they outdo the Broncos, we're in trouble. I think the Raiders won't be as good as people think, although they haven't lost to the Broncos in 3 years.
Colts are probably bad.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson. just peg the teams with rookie quarterbacks and automatically you're going to have some issues.
But that's the thing, man. There's like 3 teams in every division that at least have a right to talk about, hey, can we make the playoffs this year? And now you're going to limp into the first quarter of the season where your schedule is the softest. And, I mean, you're really going to have to pound the rock. So you're really going to have to run the ball.
You're asking me, what are they going to do now? They don't have the explosiveness at that receiver's position. Well, they still have players. It's not like they don't have players. I mean, Callaway's going to surprise some people. He was productive in New Orleans.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about camp is like, who are you seeing that? Because everything I read is Kendall Hinton. And
he's sort of Mr. Reliable, right? Kendall Hinton does all the stuff you need. Did you see him in the touchdown run by Jaleel McLaughlin in the last game? He had a seal block that allowed that touchdown run to happen.
Yeah.
He does a little bit of everything. So he's a reliable receiver. He's not, the most explosive guy.
And that's
he's not Jeudy.
You don't have another explosive guy. Even Cortland, who is your last primary target left, he's not an explosive guy.
Throw the ball to your running backs. They're going to do more of that.
I think they're going to have to.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to. And I think they're going to have to rely on the tight ends more. I mean, we talked about Albert O yesterday, and it's sad because the conversation that we had yesterday started with, oh, you think he makes the 53? And today I'm coming in here like he might have to be a significant part of this offense and actually make a difference for this offense to score points.
1977 texts in on the text line, as a physical therapist, I 100% agree with that. What are you agreeing with? I'm just curious. What did we say that would incline a physical therapist to agree?
That maybe you give him time till he gets to be 100%.
Maybe your fruit list.
Maybe your fruit list.
My plums, probably. Maybe the fact that once you tear a hamstring, it's going to linger for the entire season.
No matter what.
There's nothing you do about it.
What.
I mean, dude, again, what's the worst muscle tear you've ever suffered? What's the worst?
I've never torn anything, but
technically you tear. If you ever have a hamstring or a calf,
yeah,
it's always a tear.
Right.
It's just the degree of the tear.
Right. I've never completely torn something.
Okay. Yeah, like off the muscle.
Right. Yeah.
Now I've seen players tear it off the muscle where the entire leg becomes swollen, black and blue, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And they're done. Man, that's the worst injury you could suffer. They're done. But even like Jeremy Bloom in his book I mentioned, he tore his hamstring when he was in camp. He tore a half inch of his hamstring. Half inch of it just came off. He was never the same again. Ever. They had him come back in 2 weeks.
This is why I got to a dark place when I was doing the appetizer hour, Vic. You can't, oh man, it's killing me because here was Jeudy about to embark on a really important year for his career and a really important year for the Denver Broncos. Yeah. And he just might not be the kind of player he can be for the whole season. We're talking about if he's going to be out for these first 4 games, whatever. But he could play 15 games and not look right the whole time.
I feel terrible for the guy, but here, take solace in this, Broncos fans. This is my final comment on this issue until later in the show when we recycle information. We are more concerned. We are more angry. We are more fearful of this injury than the head coach.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Well, he believes in his scheme, and
exactly.
I think that's an important thing to do.
That's a good thing. Trust me.
But it makes me wonder, going into the game on Saturday, who are you going to see for starters? Peyton addressed that yesterday.
Fair question. There may be a few, because it's a little trickier than just saying, all the starters aren't starting or playing. But you do have to play 4 quarters, and you don't want a certain half of your roster getting 60 snaps and risking injury either. So we'll have that meeting tonight.
I mean, Sutton's got to sit down. Right? You can't take any chances with your
I don't
last.
know what you do there. I think you're exactly right. Now that's like precious gold. It's
right.
a precious commodity.
Right.
You hide it. You put it in your safe.
Right.
You don't let anybody touch it. So you're probably right there. I think they still have plenty of bodies to put out there and play the Rams. The Rams probably going to play anybody anyway. So
they never do.
Yeah. So
but it begs the question of what do you need to see? Do you need to see any of these other weapons? Is there anything that you felt like was unresolved going into this last preseason
Well, you're
game?
going to see some of these other receivers. Are you going to see a lot of little Jordan Humphrey? You're going to see a lot of Kendall Hinton. You're going to see a lot of these dudes. if they can play. Can Brandon Johnson play this week? I don't know if he can.
Do you need to see a big game from one of them?
I don't know if you need to see a big game. You just got to get them reps.
Yeah.
Because all the reps that Jeudy took, these guys need now. Give them some reps. Let them go.
And on this, Russ played a lot the first preseason game. Only one drive the second game. And it made me wonder, what was this game going to look like? And originally I thought he might get a few drives here. And now I'm thinking maybe not.
Let me warn Broncos fans who are going out to the game on Saturday. And I don't need to do this. You guys have been around long enough, season ticket holders. You've seen enough preseason games to know what to expect. Here's what you should expect Saturday night. This is your viewing entertainment pleasure at Mile High.
Enjoy the scoreboard.
Enjoy the new $100 million renovations. No, and I mean that's not.
I'm not making fun of it. You're absolutely right. But
the number one attraction Saturday night at Mile High Stadium will not be the product on the field. It won't. It's the third preseason game.
Yeah, but Vic,
it's going to be the allure of the new scoreboard. It's going to be, hey, look at all this new Breckenridge room here. Look at all this stuff. That's what it's going to be on Saturday night, because the game is not going to matter, number one, and they're not going to play anybody.
I hear what you're saying, but there is a part of me, and you can feel free to yell at me for it, but there is a part of me that says, I want you to put Russ out there with what you think your starting wide receivers are going to be week one. Because I don't think it's going to be Jeudy. And I want to see them have a competent drive and move down the field, because Russ is going to have to get timing with guys.
Starters aren't going to play, dude. All the starters aren't playing.
I know they're not. But that's what I'm saying. It's just in my head that I'm saying to myself, now that he's going to have to find timing with guys who were second team wide receivers. And I know Sean said that they cycle wide receivers in and out all the time. But if Russ is going to have to produce points with guys who have been on the second team that he hasn't been throwing to, it makes me feel like I kind of want to see a couple drives out of what you think your starting offense will be week one.
You want to see them, Rob. They've already seen them. They've got practices.
You're right.
What you see and what they see are two entirely different things. They already know what their depth chart is. Even with Jeudy out, I guarantee they know. There's no race for this third receiver. They know who 1, 2, 3, 4 are. They're probably looking at 5, and that's it. I guarantee they know it.
And you have no desire to see...
What are we going to learn? What are we going to learn from a series against the Rams? If you're going to play them. But a series doesn't teach you anything. Again, go to the game tomorrow night. Enjoy the tailgate. Hopefully it doesn't rain. Enjoy the new features at the stadium. And you know what you get. You get a preseason game where both teams really don't play any of their studs. And they just sort of finish out the string.
Even if that is what we get, that doesn't concern you at all?
No, because this
you feel good enough about what you've seen in practice from this offense and even the second tier wide receivers.
Oh, I never feel good enough. I mean, if you're asking me what I'd prefer, would I like to see what Pittsburgh did last night on their first two drives?
Right.
Where Pickett and the starting offense comes out and just mows it down the field and makes it look extremely easy. Pickett, by the way, small hands Pickett hands. Hands look big enough to throw down the field.
Yeah.
Some of those freaking catches that were made were amazing, too. I would love to see that, but you're not going to, because the entire starting offense is not going to play.
You've got 2 weeks till your first regular season game. Still no.
Well, he's told you they're not doing it. Doesn't matter what I think. Doesn't matter what you think. He's told you already that just select guys are going to play.
Yeah. I get it. For me, that's what's going on in the back of my head is like, do you want to get those guys out there?
I do want to see Mims a little more.
Right. I'd love to see
I want to see Mims in the open field.
I'm concerned about this offense now, and I think it's going to be a run-based offense. Speaking of preseason games last night, Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts took on the Philadelphia Eagles. And our boy, Anthony Richardson, I think it was like midway through the first quarter or late in the first quarter, scores a touchdown to tie the game and proceeds to mock the Eagles crowd.
That's bold.
with a win. And it just made me think, Vic, listen, there are some guys who are going to play in the fourth quarter, and that's going to be the pinnacle of their NFL career. The touchdown that they score in the fourth quarter of a preseason game. And if those guys want to celebrate, then fine. But Anthony Richardson, You're hoping he scores like hundreds of touchdowns in his career.
That's bold.
And he's in a preseason first quarter going after Eagles fans.
You know, the competitor in me doesn't mind it because the dude, he's just having fun. He's
Yeah,
having a good old
but come on.
Big, but it also allows the opposing defense to take a shot at him if they want to.
And a battery to come out of the stands.
I was going to say, it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. It's all in fun.
Even that it's preseason
doesn't bother me one
Like
bit.
you don't want your guy to be like, I'm going to do this all the time.
Well, his coach probably had a good talking to, but I don't think it's an issue moving forward. Put it that way. It was funny. I found it.
It was funny. Yeah. It was funny.
I like Anthony Richardson. I hope he succeeds. God, that dude looks like a linebacker.
Have you heard his
you
voice?
You just like him because he can dunk a basketball, and you saw that video of him.
That's a good point.
I feel like that's it.
Yeah.
Have you heard his voice?
No.
So he did you're watching Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime thing, like a tag for the broadcast. And Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit are calling the game. And his voice is so like James Earl Jones.
Really? Is it like Andrew Siciliano yesterday?
Yeah, like buttery smooth and super deep
Give me
voice.
some of that.
It looks like Marty's looking for it now.
Marty,
I haven't the ball that many times. I did see a couple of missed throws from me, a couple of drops from the team, but that's just all with reps and preparation. Going into the season, we're going to continue to build on it. Keep taking shots because we like to play aggressive, we like to play fast. So.
Now, I would never mistake him for James Earl Jones, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'm just saying like a very deep voice. And like he's only 20. Like his voice is going to continue to mature. Yeah. And Al Michaels is like, man, we got to get you some voice work here, some endorsements.
When does the voice stop maturing?
That's a good question. When is your voice your voice for the rest of your life?
Yeah, when does it stop like hollowing out?
I felt like you handled that very delicately.
I didn't know what else to say.
I felt like you handled that very delicately.
Because there's no better voice than James Earl Jones.
He is one of the best. You like
so
him?
What if his just changes like next week and he just starts talking like this? This is it now, guys. I don't know.
Him, Morgan Freeman. I'm trying to think. Liev Schreiber, who does the Hard Knocks. He's got a great voiceover voice. Have you ever done any voiceover, Vic? I don't feel like you're.
I'm not a voice guy. I was a candidate for the train at DIA.
Really?
Yeah, I was in the running, and I actually went out and campaigned for it. Went to the zoo one day and passed out campaign buttons.
I was here for that.
I came close, didn't I, Marty?
It was a voting-based thing, and I think you came in second.
Yeah. Now, did you have to cut some drops for it?
You had to cut some drops.
Wait, do we have them?
I don't know if we have them.
I don't think so.
But I did them my way.
Who won? Alan Roach.
Yeah, Alan Roach, of course. Yeah. He's the voice, right?
I mean, he's like the voice of the NFL. Even though
they gave me a script and I did it my way. You know how you get to the train. Please, what do they say on that? What is the typical please?
Attention, please.
Attention, please. Please.
The doors are closing.
They say something other than please.
Yes. A lot of pleases. Here's how I did it.
Please.
Here's how.
Please.
Here's how I did it. Attention, people. Get off the damn train. Other people are getting on. Move around. And if there's an old lady, let her sit in the back. Don't sit in the back, you lazy ass. Get up, let the old lady sit there. Hurry up. Let's go.
I think there's a reason maybe they picked Alan Roach and not you.
Wouldn't you rather hear that?
I might, but the old lady.
And you better hang on. And for those of you kids who try to surf and all that stuff and then are flying all over the train, think again.
Oh my God, you gotta get off now.
These dang kids trying to surf on the train. All right, well, I maybe understand better why you didn't get selected, but I think you would have been a great choice, Vic. Okay, coming up next, we talked about how Vic may have started a rivalry with the Los Angeles Lakers. Some more fuel to that fire coming up next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's Moser, Lombardi and Kane. He is Vic Lombardi. I'm Rob Trujillo, filling in for Brett Kane. And he also is the one who tried to fire up the rivalry with the Lakers a little bit. In one of the more memorable parts.
I don't know about that. I can
of
tell
the
you
championship parade.
This is the contention I've made. And I've heard it, a lot of people discuss it on this radio show, on this radio station. Who is the Nuggets' rival in the NBA?
Lakers, daddy!
Who is the Nuggets' rival in the NBA? What team would you pick as the Nuggets' chief rival?
I mean, I've had this discussion, and I think the answer is they don't have one.
The answer is the LA Lakers.
I think we want it to be the Lakers.
Well, let me tell you why it's the Lakers. And I'll tell you why from many different angles. Because here's what I get. And I've gotten a lot of it from Laker fans. You're not a rival. Maybe match all the championship trophies. Nobody even cares about you in LA. You're not a rival. You won one trophy. Big deal. Let me tell you why I know the Nuggets are a chief rival of the Lakers. You think the guys in that Lakers locker room, if you ask them, who do they want to beat this year? Who do you think they would point to? Who do they want to beat this year? Who is one team that they've got on their bulletin board that they'd like to beat?
You want me to be a jerk?
Sure.
Boston.
Okay. It's not Boston.
Yeah, it is, man.
It's not Boston. It's not Boston. They want to beat the Nuggets. The Nuggets embarrassed them. The Nuggets embarrassed them.
I think for
Anthony
the first
Davis
time
and
this
LeBron
year.
James want to beat the Nuggets.
I think for the first time this year. Yes, that's right.
They want to beat the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Darvin Ham. He's already gone public. He wants to beat the Nuggets. And to really make my case a real one, look at who they put on the schedule for the day that they debut a statue of one of their greats, Kobe Bryant. Look at who's on the schedule that day. It's going to be one of those royalty-laden days at Crypto.com where all the greats come in on 2/8/24. February 8th, 2024, Kobe Bryant's statue will be unveiled. All the greats in Laker Nation will be there. And guess who they have on the schedule that night?
The Charlotte Hornets.
The Denver Nuggets. Do not tell me they don't consider the Nuggets a threat. Do not tell me they don't want to beat the Nuggets. By virtue of those alone, they want a rivalry. Let's go. Let's ride.
Listen, I want to say that I think
Let's ride.
Now please stop doing that.
Haven't heard that in a while.
It sends a chill down my spine when you do it, though. I think there's no doubt that for years, the Nuggets wanted the Lakers to be their rival.
Well, no, the Nuggets were not worthy for years.
Right.
Listen, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, I wasn't screaming this. I was never saying this. It was not even close. The Nuggets were owned by the Lakers. They owned us. Listen, they had paperwork on owning the Nuggets. Not anymore. You embarrassed them. You swept them. You beat them.
And I don't think please stop doing that.
Get off our show!
I might have Marty turn your mic off if you keep doing that. The 17 championships, I don't think matters. I just think it matters like who's in the way of your next one. So if both those teams are good, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Vic, it just so happens that the same date as Kobe's jersey is a coincidence for that day. I don't think it's a coincidence they're playing the Nuggets that day.
Yeah, you don't think they sent a thing into the league office that said...
So it's a coincidence that it's the Nuggets on that day? Huh. What a coincidence.
You don't think they sent something to the NBA that said, we're unveiling a statue this day. Not only do we need a home game, but here's a list of people we'd like to play.
9099. What a coincidence that the Nuggets are opening the season against the Lakers here at home. God, that's such a coincidence. I thought it'd be the Pelicans. Two major coincidences there.
On the Twitch chat.
Get out of here, Lakers fans who say you're not worthy. Because it's not about you, it's not about me. It's not about what we think is a rivalry. It's about what they think is a rivalry. And the people in that locker room in LA, trust me, they want it.
On the Twitch chat, you're not really doing it for me, Vic. See you in Nebraska have more of a rivalry.
You can think what you want. Again, it doesn't matter what we think. 2612. Vic, I agree, and I'll double down where I think Denver's the one team LeBron brought his A game against. And to him, it's the one team when he brings his best game he could not beat. You know, LeBron has a losing record against the Nuggets.
That's a great point.
Yeah, he has a losing record against the Nuggets. One of the only teams, I think the only team in the NBA in which he has a losing record.
But 40-point game he put up. What was that, game 3 or game 4?
Game 4, he had 30 in the first half.
And wasn't good enough. Now, listen, I think every athlete, save maybe a couple of the greats, at a different time in their life has had that moment where you play your best game and still lose, and it's kind of a downer, and it sticks in your craw. Like, it don't matter if we're talking about Pee Wee football or we're talking about the NBA Western Conference Finals. When you play your best game and it's still not good enough for your team to win, like, you never forget that.
7027, historically, I'd say the Jazz are the natural rival. Get out of here. The Jazz.
Yeah, that's...
Get out of here.
Jazz do nothing.
Nobody cares about the Jazz Nuggets series.
Did you feel like you were walking into enemy territory when you went to the All-Star game last year?
And now people are saying the Phoenix Suns. Again, the Suns, there was one memorable series, and then you give... It's the Lakers. Quit trying to avoid it. Stop trying to sidestep it. It's the Lakers. Just stop.
But don't the Lakers have to be good this year for it to actually be a rivalry?
Lakers are going to be better. They're much improved. They've added some pieces.
Tell me, because I granted
They've
you
added a
follow
lot of pieces to their
closer
team.
than I do, but I knew they were in cap trouble going into this season.
Oh no, they did. Gabe Vincent. They took Gabe Vincent from Miami.
Okay,
fortified their backcourt a little bit.
Because as good as they were at the end of last regular season and through the first couple rounds of the playoffs, they were still a 7 seed.
Lakers are going to be better. There's a reason they finished the way they did. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
But they're not as good as the Nuggets. Well, and that's the beauty of this.
And they're not as good as the Suns, I don't think, either. You think they're better than the Suns?
No, I think the Suns and Nuggets are probably the best teams in the West.
And so when somebody says Phoenix can turn into your rival, I think I understand that there is a long history with the Lakers. But in terms of playing high leverage games that mean a lot, not only in the regular season, but also possibly in the playoffs, you got nothing for Phoenix. You got nothing for Kevin Durant, Devin Booker.
I think it's a big game, but it's not the same. It doesn't.
Campaign is gone. The rivalry is over.
I'm going to tell you guys something, and again, you can think whatever you want. I'm going to end it with this because I am tired of dealing with people that think I'm just making. I have never seen more joy from Nikola Jokic than when he beat the Lakers in 4. Ever. If you talk to him privately, talk to his family members and teammates, talk to the people that were on that team playing back from LA. I have never seen more joy out of Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets players than when they beat the Lakers in Los Angeles. Miami included, the NBA championship included. That was secondary to when they beat the Lakers. They think it's a rivalry. LeBron thinks it's a rivalry. That's who he wants to beat. I don't care what you think.
And that was one of my favorite sounds of the offseason. Was it Bruce Brown on the podcast who said it meant something a little bit different to Joker that day to beat the Lakers? He was a different guy.
Of course he was.
During that series than he was during any of the other series.
He said so. He was intense. Are you looking for sound? Are you trying to?
I don't know. Do we have the sound, Marty?
Clearly, don't know why. It clearly, but it was like
y'all wanted that
neck.
smoke.
Yeah.
Y'all wanted all that
we was
smoke.
talking that.
So that was Bruce Brown talking about the Lakers series?
Right. Talking on a podcast about how it was different. It felt different.
It was different. It was different. And I think it's healthy. It's healthy for the Nuggets, and it's great. You live up to those standards. Let's go.
By the way, so Lakers putting another statue in front of Crypto.com. They've got like 10 out there, right?
Yeah, they got Chick Hearn statues out there. They got a bunch.
They got a Shaq one, don't they?
Yes, they do.
They got a Kareem one, I think, a Magic one.
Yes.
They got a bunch of statues.
Yeah.
Out there. We don't really have any statues in front of our stadiums. Like they got the Ring of Fame in front of the Broncos.
I think that serves as a statue, basically.
But
you
they're
got
like
busts,
plaques.
but they're busts, they're faces.
But like, does Joe Sakic not deserve a statue in front of Paul
Are you
Arena?
a statue guy?
I'm just saying.
But his numbers in the rafters, does that count?
Oh, I mean, absolutely it counts. He's been the guy who created all 3 cups, right? Like, he's
so
captain for 2 and
let's
general
cut to
manager
the chase
for 1.
here. A number in the rafters, like a ring of fame, that's special, that you're one of the greats.
Yeah.
But a statue is transcendent. That's next level. That's like you are one of the greats all time. Without you, this franchise isn't what it is. If that's the case, John Elway needs to be in front of Mile High Stadium.
Yeah. Floyd Little and John Elway would be the 2 that I would suggest.
I would say John Elway, and that's it. There's one guy that's been transcendent for the Broncos franchise, and that's John Elway. And that's it.
And
one.
For the Nuggets, we all know who deserves a statue. It's just a matter of how long till he retires.
You got to wait a little bit.
Yeah, put it up.
See, I'm not going to be handing out statues like the Lakers to every damn player that comes around.
But they do have 17 titles. I mean, it's not, so they've got a rich history.
Sure.
But I just felt like for the Avs, like, it's a no-brainer. And then the Rockies just have a random baseball player in front of there. Like, you couldn't, Walker, Todd Helton, nothing. Like, you can't put a statue out there of somebody. They put, like, it's literally called The Player, and it's on 20th.
I know, that's weird. Speaking of the Rockies, if you guys get a chance, Nick Roque, who used to work for The Athletic, and they let him go. Nick's a tremendous, talented writer. He's been on this show several times. Nick wrote a piece in the Colorado Sun. Just go to his Twitter page, go to his Twitter and click on it. And it's long. It's a long read on the history of the Rockies and why they've been so bad and how bad they've actually been since their existence. I consumed this sucker last night, and I learned things I didn't even know. I was like, whoa. Well, I didn't even know that. Whoa.
Sounds depressing.
Yeah, it is depressing. But it was like one of those whoa reads. Whoa.
Sounds depressing. All right. Well, also depressing is the Jerry Jeudy injury, and we are going to have Jeff Legwold on with us next to talk about what it means for the Denver Broncos coming up on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's Moser, Lombardi and Kane. Vic Lombardi and I'm Rob Trigilio filling in. And we're joined by ESPN senior writer and Denver Broncos insider Jeff Legwold. Laggy, I got to ask, they did the MRI, I think, last night. Have you heard anything on the Jerry Jeudy injury and how bad the hamstring is?
Well, most everybody I ask uses the ubiquitous hamstring description. Several weeks. We'll miss several weeks.
Yeah.
So whatever that is. Look, it's those are hard injuries to recover from. He's had a hamstring injury in the past with some other things. So I think if anyone tells you they know exactly how long this is going to take, I think they're fibbing at this point. But, I think you'd be hard-pressed to play the first few weeks of the season, but we'll see how it goes. But I've been told several weeks at least.
Jeff, at that position especially, you've seen hamstring pulls, guys limp off, and then you've seen slight tears. They're all tears, but this one seems a little more extensive when he had to be helped off the field. You have to be helped off the field. That's a month in my book.
Oh, at minimum, Vic. Again, now some of the month is it's 17 days until the opener, so that is some of the month. But it could be longer too. I mean, you don't know. It's one of the oddest injuries in terms of recovery a player can have, and it's the biggest variance between guys, depending on a million things. It's a hard, difficult muscle to recover from, and he couldn't put any weight on his leg when they helped him in the locker room. I mean, it wasn't just one of those where he limped off and I felt a twinge. He was supporting his own leg in the cart when they were driving him. So it's obviously very painful and will take some time, and I don't think people should be setting their watch by September or anything.
So, yeah, let's talk about what that means transactionally, because Vic and I were talking earlier. You obviously have him on the 53 as you go through the season and then put him on IR, and that means that he has to sit out 4 weeks is likely the scenario, right, Jeff?
Well, I mean, you're going to know what they think of his recovery by what they do. Yeah. I mean, if it is just if they think they're going to get him back, 4 to 8, you would do that. If they think it's going to be longer, then they'll really have to show their hand at some point. But they've had a run of bad luck at receivers, this summer. So they're thin there, and I think that'll be one of the positions they take a long look at when the waiver wire opens for business, next week. So I think there are going to be a few one-day Broncos, as I say, people who think they've made the 53 and are told the next morning that they claimed 4 or 5 guys on waivers.
Does this rethink what Sean Payton does tomorrow night, where he said he's going to have some starters play, but given the injury to Jeudy, does he rethink that?
Vic, that's always the toughest thing for a coach, because if you hold all of the starters out, then you're making other players play 60 plays, 50 plays, and you're sort of exposing them. Some of your key backups on a very thin roster are then exposed for more. So that's the tough thing for the Broncos. This is not a deep team, because you can't fire coaches every 2 years and be a deep team. So I think they will take a more mix and match approach to try and even out the workload a little bit at some of the positions.
Thoughts 2 days after watching the Broncos and Rams have at it there at Broncos headquarters? Who got the better?
Yeah, it's always tough to score those things, because both sides are scripting it. They're telling the other guys, we need to work on these 3 things. Can we do this in this period? But Broncos had a much better day yesterday than they did Wednesday. They were just kind of milling around Wednesday, and it showed. I think the Rams won almost every. If you're picking the old horse race winners and losers, the Rams won the bulk of the drills on Wednesday. But yesterday, much better day for the Broncos.
Was there any, I don't want to say fights, but skirmishes at practice? Because we had heard a lot about how the first day the intensity wasn't there for the Broncos, and you were kind of saying the same thing. And the discussion was, is there going to be somebody who kind of brings it yesterday? And we kind of struggled to figure out who that would be for the Broncos. And also, I didn't really hear that there was any extra intensity. How was the intensity from the team yesterday?
I think it was good. I mean, the fights in training camp are overblown. Some of them are just stupid. And, I watched a guy miss a whole season one time because he got in a helmet swinging fight in training camp and almost tore his own thumb off, swinging his helmet around. So these two coaches had talked to their teams. There weren't going to be a lot of fights at this one. Bottom line, there are as many fights in a training camp practice as a coach will let the players get away with. And to your question, you can have plenty of intensity and not punch people. So I think they were much better yesterday, start to finish. Every drill, everything. They were better. And look, they were told Wednesday night in the meetings that, if you want to be here, that's not how you're going to practice. And, I think guys got the message. But look, it's like any job, in the players' world, they've been really, really busy like people get on their jobs, and they don't feel great right now. I mean, this is not a time when a player's going to say, yeah, I feel great. Let's go. But
I feel great.
Yeah, Vic,
I feel great.
When you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
I don't know what the big deal is after 3 weeks of camp. I feel great.
You are as fresh as ever.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Hey, so walk us through, Jeffrey, the next few days. Game time tomorrow night. When do the cuts start happening? How many cuts? Give us the dates.
Well, the game Saturday, Sunday, the coaches and the personnel guys will probably, they've been meeting all along. Most teams have personnel meetings during camp 2 or 3 times a week when they go over every guy. Okay, where's he at? Where do you see him? And so they've been doing that all camp, but they'll have their sort of the final meetings of this round, probably a bunch on Sunday. And then Monday and Tuesday, it's just one cut this year. So that's a lot of guys they got to address in person and talk to. So I would guess several cuts Monday and the rest Tuesday as they work it through. And then I think they're pretty high in the waiver claim order. I think they're 5th. So I think they will be active, and they will take a long look for some veteran help at some positions.
Well, and so quickly, Leggy, what are the spots that you feel like are still in contention on the 53? Where should we be looking for them to fill out the bottom of this roster, and then either with who makes the cut or who they get off the waiver wire?
Well, this is one of the toughest rosters this year, I personally wrestled with when trying to figure out where the 53 is going to land. And I've been charting every day where the 2s and 3s are in the special teams drills, because they have a lot of sort of these 4-week injury guys. What's Riley Moss's situation? What's DJ Jones's situation? PJ Locke has missed a ton of practice time at safety. You've got a guy at almost every position that has missed a ton of time in camp because of injury, and now you got to figure out, are you carrying that guy for one day? So the initial 53 is not going to be the 53 that comes wheeling into the practice week for the Raiders. It's an odd year this year. They've had these injuries, and they're just a thin team with a new coaching staff, and that could mean a lot of churn for roster spots, say 45 to 53 in the next couple weeks.
A couple days ago, after practice, Randy Gradishar sat in front of the media and thanked everyone to the moon about his finalist status at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But he went out of his way to point out our boy Leggy.
And a special thanks. I see Mr. Legwald here. Mr. Legwald has been behind me for a long, long time. And I thank you and your committee for getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I really thank you.
First of all, when's the last time you've been called Mr. Legwald? That's a treat.
Yeah, No, I can't remember. A lot of people don't even know my first name. That's
All
the
right.
beauty of it.
Secondly, let's be clear here. He's not officially a Hall of Famer.
No.
He's a finalist.
No.
So
He's a finalist.
So how?
But that
What is? How close is that to being official? We're all assuming it, but we don't know for sure.
Well, you know, if he doesn't make it, I'm going to have to move. I'm pretty sure. So, you know, I love you guys, and it's been great. But via con Dios, my friends. But you know, he's the difference for Randy this time is the senior finalist. He's one of 3, and now the senior finalist has one more vote. The full committee in January. He's got to get 80% yes, but he's not up against the other seniors. He's not up against the coach and the contributor, and he's not up against the modern era guys. It's just a yes or no vote on Randy Gradishar. That's it.
So is there a limit to how many they can, because they've got 3 of them, McMichael, Gradishar, and I don't recall the other.
No, they're all taken individually, and they can all make it, and and the class would be 9 people if everybody, if it's full 5 modern era people, and then the 4 finalists from the committee.
All right, can we talk common sense for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Who in God's green earth?
I'm probably the wrong guy.
Who on earth of these voters would say no? What? They've already gotten to this point. There's no limit. Why would you say no? What reason would there be to say no to deny one of these guys' entrance?
You know, it's a rare occurrence. I've been on the committee long enough because I'm old to have seen a player, have the no vote at this stage, and I think it's one of the most painful, awful things to watch. But you'd have to have a very, very strong no feeling, and as a selector, I would expect that person to at least be willing to stand up in the meeting and express it so it could be addressed. And 98% of the time it is. Sometimes you don't see it coming, but there's been, and I've told you, Vic, you know that, there's been a lot of strong feeling for Randy in recent years. I've believed for a long time he was going to come out as a senior finalist at some point here. He was a Centennial class finalist. People told me after I presented him in that meeting, they thought he made it, and he didn't. I was shocked, but there's a ton of support for Randy, and the process right now, it's one final yes or no vote, and in January to the full committee of 50 selectors, and I get to present them again. So you do get to state the case again and answer any questions and all of those things.
Well, it's very cool that you do that, Leggy. I mean,
what an honor.
It's amazing, and the fact that they know how much work you're doing for them, I think it's really cool, and I know it's not the first time that you've done it. So,
and I want you to start your presentation by saying this: "I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse."
Yeah,
and then go on with your presentation.
Yeah, exactly. You want me to do a little Brando?
Yeah,
you want me to do a little Brando then? Yeah.
All right, Leggy. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you jumping in with us.
Anytime, fellas. Take care.
Jeff Legwold.
Mr. Legwold.
ESPN writer. You can catch all his stuff on ESPN there. Always appreciate him making time for us. We've got, go ahead.
Doesn't it seem ridiculous, though, that it comes down to a yes or no vote now? It's like, if you're, what would incline someone to deny Steve McMichael, who has ALS, or deny Randy Gradishar, who clearly wants it? What kind of human would you have to be to say no when they've already been pretty much approved?
I mean, Dion kind of said it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Very Good.
Come on.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying that as to these two people, but you're saying, why would you say no? The reason that you'd say no is because you don't think those people belong. But
you're a joke.
I think for this round of players, I don't think anybody gets said no to. So, all right, Robin Fraser coming up at 8:30, and also we talk about a little bit of college football on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's Moser, Lombardi and Kane. Vic Lombardi here, and I'm Rob Trujillo sitting in. College football starts in earnest tomorrow, 0 week. And of course, the team kicking it off, the team that Vic won't shut up about.
Well, I was supposed to play golf tomorrow afternoon. That is now going to be canceled because I forgot Notre Dame plays at 12:30.
How did you forget
forgot
your team's first game?
I didn't know what time the time change. I don't know what it is in Ireland. Do they have a half-hour time zone like India? I don't know how it works.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You didn't hear about that? You didn't hear our show the other day?
Oh, dude.
Oh, this is crazy. This is mind-numbing stuff.
Wait, have him look up the time in New Delhi.
Hold on. It's 8:20 a.m. right now.
Okay.
In Denver. What time do you think it is in India?
So I shouldn't Google it.
What time do you think it is in India right now? It's 8:20 a.m. in Denver.
It's tomorrow, so right, isn't it? Or it's probably close to like midnight there. I don't know, 12:20.
Oh, Rob.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, Robbie.
Close to like midnight there? No? What is the
Marty, let him know what it is.
Look it up. I want your jaw to drop.
What time is it
in
India right now? This hit us during a random show last week, and we couldn't believe it. It changed my life. Changed the way I look at time zones. Changed the way I look at time continuum.
7:50 p.m. So they have a half.
Figure that out.
Yeah,
have a half-hour time
Riddle
zone.
me that one.
Yeah, figure that one
Rob.
out.
Why is New Delhi time 30 minutes off?
Figure that one out.
Largely to do.
You figure that one out, dude. They got a half-hour time zone.
I mean, I did always think it was weird that I could drive from Utah to whatever, the edge of Kansas.
And then it's
all the same time, and then magically it switches.
But that's fine. But it switches right to an hour before or an hour after. When you start playing this half-hour game, I mean, what's next? We're going to do 27 minutes? Where are we going to?
Yeah, that is weird. 7:50 p.m.
There are parts of Australia that go at the 45-minute time zone. Yes.
We learn all sorts of stuff on this show, right?
Time zone information.
Stick with us.
Time zone freaks all over the world.
And so that's what they're doing in Ireland.
So that's why I was confused about game time.
Sure. That's why you had scheduled golf, which takes hours.
You forgot to drop the half hour. That's what the problem is.
I can't wait for college football season.
I'm so excited.
I just can't wait for football to begin with.
Real games sound great.
But the fact that college football gets going and we finally get to see action, people always ask, what do you think? For Notre Dame, for example, I do a Notre Dame web show, sort of like with alumni, and we talk about the team. What do you think? I have no idea.
I mean, it's the hardest with college football. Right?
There's so many new players every year in college football. It's like CU. What do you think? I have no idea.
All right. Well,
how can you even? Let me ask you something. How can you have any idea with the influx of change, all the new players for each team?
Listen, I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire, Vic. I'm just going to ask you: do I lay the 20 points or not? Because it's Notre Dame versus.
20's a lot.
I know it's a lot of points. Notre Dame versus Navy in Ireland. And it's going to kick off at 12:30. I believe.
I went 34-21 Notre Dame, so your points are safe.
All right, so you're telling me to take Navy.
Oh, yeah. Navy plays tough, and they played to the bitter end. Last year, Notre Dame had a huge lead on Navy, and they came back and made a game of it and almost beat Notre Dame. I think the Irish won by 2. Trust me when I say this. Navy never quits. Navy, Air Force, those teams, doesn't matter if they're down by 30. They'll keep balling.
Well, and Navy's going to be hyped up for this game, too. I mean,
it should be.
It's a cool opportunity for them to go over.
It should be. Yeah, but, take CU Texas Christian. No idea. Texas Christian has a completely different team. They lost a lot of talent.
I was looking and I saw 40% of their starters they lost.
They lost a lot of
including their
talent.
Heisman finalists.
Did you know that they won more close games than any college football team, FBS team in the country last year?
They had some crazy finishes.
Close games.
Like running the field goal team onto the field to hit a field goal last second against Baylor.
Their season takes an entirely different turn if a couple of those result in losses, right? So that's how close they were. That's how close they were to a national championship runner-up or 8-4 football team.
Which is why Marty O has given me a hard time for the fact that I absolutely am going to take CU in the points, and I think that they could win the game outright. But, I mean, TCU plays close games, and they lost most of their starters. I feel good about CU going into that first week. And sure, it's just the offseason hype.
I don't know, and I will live and die by that. It's just a guess. You have no idea how good CU is going to be. None. And if you think you do, it's just, if you go to practice and watch every practice, okay, what does that tell you? All right, great. They're practicing against each other. It doesn't tell you anything. We got to see them play. Give me a game. Give me one game.
That's a week from Saturday.
Yes.
That we get to see TCU and CU. The other ranked team playing tomorrow is USC and Heisman Trophy candidate Caleb Williams taking on San Jose State. It'll be a 6:00 game, so I'll probably be watching the Broncos instead of that one, but that'll at least be fun. It'll be a second TV type game for me.
546 chimes in. Will someone buy Lombardi some decent headphones? He looks so unprofessional.
I mean, you are wearing like iPhone headphones.
I like wearing these. I don't like having my hair jacked.
You can buy like professional monitors, Mr. TV guy.
Yeah, I don't like wearing those either.
Really?
They dig. I mean, no, I don't like them.
Really?
I've got them.
Everybody says that they're incredibly comfortable.
Oh, they're the worst.
Like the ones that are molded for your ears?
They're the worst. They hurt your eardrum. I've worn them all my life.
That's what I'm asking. That's
they're
what
the
I'm asking.
absolute worst. These are the best. So stick that in your ear, Larry.
Wasn't it Larry that you yelled at
that was
yesterday?
another Larry.
It was a different Larry. Wanted to ask you, so Oregon State and Washington State, these are the teams that are essentially the leftovers. If Stanford and Cal end up going to the ACC, which we've talked plenty about, Oregon State and Washington State are the last two teams.
Yeah.
And so apparently a proposal's been put forth both by the Mountain West and the AAC about getting these teams into their conference. I feel like it's kind of, where they land is something that we can talk about. But I feel like it's kind of sad, man.
It is sad considering that both of those teams have had better seasons than CU's had over the last 10 years.
And Oregon State is
they're ranked 18th in the country.
I was going to say they're top 25 right now.
They're ranked 18th in the country. These are two good programs.
They got a brand new stadium. I knew that they were building last year.
You're exactly right. And they spent the money. If I'm an Oregon State student, if I'm an Oregon State alum, I am so ticked off. You spent the extra money to contend in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
You did what you were required to do, and now you're left in the front porch. Someone just left the kid on the front porch, said they left. See you later. Somebody else take them.
To not just contend in the Pac-12, to contend in the country.
I know.
You're a top 20 team.
I know. I don't know what happens there. I don't.
It's kind of brutal. Like and all those kids that like accepted scholarships and went to school there. Now I guess you don't have to leave, but you kind of have to leave.
Bro, Wazoo had a good football program going for years.
Mike Leach was there.
When Leach was running things up there, dude, remember they were taking players left and right from Colorado. Left and right. Who's the Pomona kid, the running back that everybody likened to McCaffrey?
Borgie.
Max Borgie. Remember, he went to CU, committed to CU, and then said, no, I'm going to go to Wazoo instead. They came in here and took a lot of talent from Colorado.
And they're going to turn into a Mountain West school, which, it's not that there's any shame in that. It's just you were part of a Power 5 conference. These were decent college football programs, and now you're kind of left holding the bag because your commissioner is terrible, but because everybody left.
Yeah, I have no advice for Corvallis and for Pullman. Is that where Washington State is? Pullman? I have no advice there. I don't know what to do.
It's just tough. Like, I feel bad for him. I really do. Especially in a year where, as an Oregon State fan, you're probably pretty hyped up that your team is good. And instead, you're left with this existential dread about your team landing in the AAC. You know what I mean?
Well, at the end of the day, though, let's say they end up in the Mountain West. That's fine.
I think the Mountain West is a really good conference.
I think so, too.
But
Mountain West is a hell of a basketball conference.
I wonder if they're going to get the automatic bid that the Pac-12 had.
That's a good point. Will they give it up? Will they just pass it on to another conference? Or
does it just go away?
I think the whole playoff format's going to change anyway. I think it's all going to be redone.
Well, they're going to go to 12 teams, right?
Yeah, it's going to be redone, but the automatic bids, I think they're going to retool all of it. So we'll see where they go.
Because they're just reseeding
exactly.
everything.
Because there's so much change right now.
I also wanted to hear your take on the Jim Harbaugh self-imposed / not self-imposed.
I don't even know how this stuff.
suspension.
How does this happen? How does the NCAA actually have authority anymore? Right? The self-imposed rules always crack me up because there's more to it. Hey guys, just want you to know we messed up. We got it. We'll handle it. We'll let you know what it is, and we'll dole out the penalty. But don't you worry about it. We got it.
It's clearly to avoid him missing games that are important.
First 4 games on the schedule are pretty damn easy.
East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers.
Yeah, enjoy.
And they're like, oh, we're going to cycle through head coaches while he's not in. So no guy has to take the heat of being the interim head coach in case something goes wrong.
Michigan's going to be good, by the way.
Does this mean that the NCAA said that to them, we're going to give him a 6-game suspension?
I think the NCAA, it's more the NCAA saying, do something. We know you did something wrong. Do something about it. And this is what they came up with.
That's crazy, too. It's crazy because, in all honesty,
what do you want them to vacate wins?
No, it's just there's no regulatory agency for any of this stuff, and people hate the NCAA. Chaz was in here railing against them yesterday, and I understand it, but at the same time, somebody has to regulate the NIL stuff. It's
the Wild West, brother.
The Wild West.
It's a frontier. It continues to amaze. There are things that you can do in college football today that years ago it was taboo. Now it's like, yeah, fire away. Let's go. Who cares?
That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And at some point they've got to put a leash on it, don't they, Vic? They can't just let it run wild like this forever.
Well, look at Colorado. Dion has the ability to pop on a video. I don't know if you saw the latest video from a well-off video, his family's YouTube site. There's Dion in front of his new shoes. Have you seen his new shoes that they did? The new Colorado cleats. They're pretty badass.
I'm sure.
And he found out that LeBron wanted a pair. So he says, LeBron, these are yours. In exchange, I want a pair of yours. So he has direct contact with all these stars. You were telling me, what are the list of players that have gone up to Boulder to visit with the CU football team?
Oh, I wish I had it in front of me.
Terrell Owens has been up there.
Yeah. There's a couple of guys. But I just don't know what that does. Guys. I don't know what that does for the players. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know who T.O. is.
Yeah, come on.
They're 19 years old. Like, they know his name, but they didn't watch him play.
You don't think they know Terrell Owens?
I think they know who he's a Hall of Famer. Like, I know who Steve Largent is. I did not watch him play.
Yeah, but you know who he is. If he came to talk to you, would you be impressed? Would you heed his word?
I mean, yeah, because he's done what I want to do, right?
Okay.
Like, he's succeeded at that highest level, and that would be my goal if I was those kids. But
does anybody have that list of that resume of people they can bring in to talk to their team like Dion does?
No.
There's nobody in the country, right? Maybe Saban. Saban's had some people come through.
Even Saban doesn't, I think, have the cool factor because you're not just talking about football guys.
By the way, I don't know if it works.
We'll find out.
You bring somebody in to talk to a team that, okay, great, but does it work? No idea.
But it's also the star power, right? It was DJ Khaled on the sidelines and Lil Wayne on the sidelines. It's not just football.
By the way, DJ Khaled, I played golf behind him in Phoenix during the Super Bowl. He's much smaller than he looks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's wide, but he's not. I'm taller than he is.
No.
I'll show you a photo.
You're taller than he is?
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I know they measured you yesterday, and we were a little bit surprised about the height.
It's out there for you. Don't worry about it.
I find that hard to believe. Was he a slow golfer, though? Or did you?
Oh, yeah, he had a whole slew of people playing with him, and it was like, let's go. Let's go, wrap it up.
The day after Vic went golfing with them, or whatever, golf behind him, he just kept saying, another one.
I did. Do you remember that?
For like a full show. It's
I couldn't help myself. When he was in, yeah, give me another one. He'd just take mulligans. Mulligan after mulligan. Another one.
No, please don't start that. Please.
Start what? Start what? Exactly.
Start saying that.
Oh, I won't. Don't worry about it. But I am going to find this photo just to prove it to you. All right. Coming up here. Hold on momentarily. Give me a second. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. All right.
This is very important.
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to let you do your thing.
Wait, so did you ask for a photo?
Yes, he asked for a photo, so I'm going to give it to him.
He asked.
Sure he did. I'm sure he asked for it. So, Marty, what do you think about the ACC taking Stanford and Cal?
I think that's pretty silly. Going across the country like that?
Pretty stupid. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, why wouldn't you also take Oregon State and Washington State?
Who's taller?
He's leaning, though.
Who's taller?
He's leaning.
I'll show the viewers.
No, this
Who's
does not
taller?
count.
Who's taller?
This does not count.
What do you mean it doesn't count?
Because you are trying to be as tall as possible because you probably saw somebody as short as you for the first time and was like, oh, I got to make this one count.
I tower
I will say
over
it's
DJ
close.
Khaled.
It's close.
He's leaning.
I tower over the man.
I don't know that you tower over him. To me, that picture looks like you saw somebody who is shorter than you, and you're like, I'm going to make sure that I take this picture as
It's not often you get that opportunity.
And the depth is off, too. I want you back to back next time.
Do what you want.
What was the final verdict on your height, by the way?
I'm 5'9". Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What does your license say? Marty and I were talking about this in the appetizer hour. What is your
6'8".
Yeah, that's right. They don't measure you at all. I had 6 foot on my license when I'm not 6 foot. 5'10".
Mine says 5'9". You got to be accurate though, dude, because
No,
you
you
get pulled.
don't.
What do you mean? If you get pulled over and the license says 6'8", 250, the cop will say, "What's going on here?"
You think if they say Rob Trujillo committed a crime, let's look up his stats on his license.
So you think it's wise to lie about your?
And they're looking for some guy who's 6'4". Maybe I can get away with it.
I'm just curious. You think it's wise to just make crap up on your driver's license?
You know, the reason we were talking about this earlier in the day, and again, I promise we're not getting into political stuff, but
I saw it.
Trump was booked last night.
Holy crap.
And when they booked him, they put him down as 6'3" and 215.
Forget what they put him down as. What was that scowl?
Oh, the picture is funny. Picture's funny.
What is going on?
No, they put him down as 6'3", 215, which makes him 1 inch shorter and the same weight as Jamal Murray.
You know what, dude? And we don't do politics on this show.
I just thought it was pointed out on Twitter that he was the same size as Jamal Murray, which I found hilarious.
Aren't you happy? Aren't you relieved that you're in the sports world? I hate politics. I hate people who delve in politics. I hate everything about it. I think it's just so gross. It is gross. It's almost embarrassing. It's embarrassing to every country's got issues, right? We're not perfect here. We're not perfect. Every country's got political issues. But being a politician is not an easy task. It is dirty work. Dirty work.
They're dirty people.
Well, not all of them. No. I'm not going to cast aspersions on all of them. That's not true.
I'm not a big fan of politicians in general.
But that's not true. There are a lot of good people out there. There are a lot of good people.
There are good people.
But you go into you get into this swamp and you can't get out.
Yeah. Listen, I just, for me, I don't love talking about it because that's not what we're all here for.
You didn't do student council at all?
Oh no, I did a bunch of stuff like that. But that's not what we're here for.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
but what campaign did you run on for student council?
I did not run in student council. I was not a student council guy. Why, were you elected?
Student body president.
Of course you were. Goody two shoes, Vic.
I wasn't goody two shoes. I ran on a good campaign.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
Sports.
Yeah. You are the pinnacle of. I bet you were the captain of your whatever team, and on the debate club and student body president.
I did a lot of stuff. It's good to be active. Why wouldn't you?
And your campaign was handing candy to people and asking them.
Campaign was play more sports, see the world.
Did you bring in the little flyers with a piece of candy taped to it?
I didn't do any of that crap.
We need more tweets in the cafeteria.
Yeah, we're going to get 2 extra vending machines.
I didn't do any of that. I wasn't Napoleon Dynamite. I danced.
Oh, goody two shoes, Vic.
You didn't do any. And Marty, did you run for student council at all?
7th grade secretary of my class. Yeah.
What the hell does a secretary do? By the way?
I did a lot.
What does a treasurer do? There's no money in high school. Like what are you holding on to?
Advise the principal.
At the student council meetings, I got to sit at the head table instead of the people who sat in Gen Pop.
So it's just about where you got to sit.
That's what I did, and I won an election, Vic.
And then you
popularity contest, and I won.
And then you put it on your college application, right?
That's right.
Where'd you go to school, Marty?
Northern Illinois.
Okay.
I just missed Jordan Lynch when he was
Husky? Yeah, I'm sure you did. Super.
There's a great running back to come out of Northern Illinois years ago.
Garrett Wolf.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what that was?
Yeah,
he was a little guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you just missed the Kansas.
I was in between
Orange
both
Bowl.
those guys. Everything was terrible when I was there.
Of course it was. All right. An interesting statement from a former MVP that I think is going to kind of shake up the NBA a little bit, or at least it might. We'll talk about it next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's Moser, Lombardi and Kane. Vic Lombardi, former student body president, iPhone headphone wearer.
HFHS class of 87, baby.
Non-skier, though, we found out in the break.
Yeah, I mean, you knew that, right?
I did not know that.
There are a slew of natives here from Colorado. I've skied like 4 or 5 times in my life. I have skied, but I wouldn't consider myself a skier. Now, you're a native, aren't you? Or you're, for the most part. Do you ski?
I have skied. I am a snowboarder.
Okay, but
So-
you get up there and you do that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't do cold. I don't do crowds.
The guy who calls people soft on air like
Cold's
every
hard for
morning
me. I don't do cold.
Does not do cold.
Nope.
Well, I bring it up because, well, I didn't mean to stop there, because the next thing I was going to say is that we tried to Google Lens your face in the break. we were looking at that picture of you and
So they have this feature on
Cal.
Google. If you put the lens over a person's face, it'll go to the Google machine and find things that match it. And for my face, it came up with underwear.
Wasn't it dirty underwear?
Well, it
Like,
was used.
It was used underwear. It was
Heavily
not new
used
underwear. For all he's done for sports in this town, Vic Lombardi, if you Google his face, you just get dirty underwear.
That's pretty accurate.
I mean, I like it. So the FIBA World Cup kicks off this weekend. USA.
Hold on. I got it. I am so sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
2139. We got into this subject earlier. When the Lakers unveiled the Kobe Bryant jersey on 2/8/24, they played the Nuggets that night. 2139 says, come on, Lakers don't send info to the league saying they want to play the Nuggets on the opening night of the Kobe. Are you naive?
Yeah, man. All teams put in requests and say, hey, on this night, we'd love to have a home game. Or on this night, we'd love to. How do you think the San Antonio, that road trip that they go on every year for the rodeo?
The rodeo.
That's down there. They send a thing that says, hey, we can't use the stadium these days. We need to be on the road these days. Every team sends to the league what they'd like.
You don't think the league wants the Lakers and Nuggets on that night?
Of course they do. Why do you think the league made it so the Lakers
I don't
are
understand
here
why people are so surprised by
when
this.
we're raising a banner?
You see, Laker fans are so in their feels now that they don't think that we're worthy of being special on their schedule. That's what this is. You realize that, right?
Well, that's what I mean when I say, is it really a rivalry?
Laker fans, and see, I don't care what fans think, because I'm a fan too. I don't care what I think. I care what the players and the franchises think. And you know what they think. They've told you. They think it's a rivalry. Both sides. Let's go.
Do you think the series ended after the 4-0 sweep and LeBron gave a lot of flowers to Jokic?
After giving himself flowers for an hour.
I know. As did Durant at the end of his series. Do you think, because then after that it got salty on like social media and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you think that it's more about the saltiness than it is the flowers?
I don't know, bro. At the All-Star game, Nikola Jokic was the last player taken. Do you think
second to last?
Well, last player. He got up purposely before he was the last player. Do you think he thinks about that? You think he uses that to motivate? Do you think when Nikola Jokic swept the Lakers, do you think that came to top of his mind?
I really don't, but you have said this before, and I know you think it did.
I know it did.
I mean, the guy is competitive.
No, it did.
But I don't think he cares about the personal accolades. Like that.
It's not about being personal accolades. He had a little something to prove. You don't think he hears how Anthony Davis is going to shut him down?
Oh, that
You don't think he hears that stuff?
Yeah,
no,
for sure.
He doesn't show he cares, but you don't think he hears it?
Oh, yeah.
Now what? Take that L. Hold it. Hold it tight to your chest and enjoy opening night.
Yeah, watching our banner go up. God, it's sends chills down my spine still to think about that banner going up to the rafters. It's going to be awesome. So do you have anything for the FIBA World Basketball Championships?
I'm interested to watch. I don't have like crazy appeal.
It's weird because the USA team not superstar laden, but still with a couple young guys that are really exciting, like Tyrese Halliburton and why is his name escaping me? The kid from Minnesota, Anthony Edwards. but it's 6:40 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Is that when the game is?
Yeah. So I was going to ask Vic, what's your normal rise time?
I'm up by then because of the show, so I'll probably watch it. What's it on?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure, but 6:40 tomorrow morning they will play basketball versus New Zealand, which is sure to be a victory.
This is one of those times where you're just looking through all the channels, right?
So you
all
find
the
it.
channels.
The quote I wanted to talk about from a former MVP was Giannis Antetokounmpo did an interview with the New York Times and said that even though he's eligible to sign an extension, that he won't do it. He said, let me pull it up here. Sorry. Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo said he does not plan to sign a contract extension when he becomes eligible next month, and that he won't sign one until he's comfortable knowing the organization will continue to compete for a championship.
What does that mean?
It's a great question because their core is absolutely championship worthy right now.
Hold on a second. I am struggling with this one. So Giannis, after the Milwaukee Bucks brought in Drew Holiday, they broke the bank on free agents over the last 2 years. Take a look at their roster over the last 2 years and who they've brought in. They had the most talented team in the East, arguably. Not even arguably. They had top to bottom their roster the most talented team in the East, and they got beat in the first round by Miami. Is that the Bucks' fault, or is that the players' fault? Is that the organizational problem, or he's got players?
Well, and
he's got. I'm going to ask you that. Let me follow this up. How many All-Stars play with Giannis? How many All-Stars are on the roster?
3.
Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton's an All-Star. That's
Brooke
2 of them.
Brooke Lopez.
Was Lopez an All-Star? I don't know if he's
like
an All-Star.
He has been at one
I don't
time,
think
but
he has been. But that's
he's a very good player.
Guess what? That's 2 more than what Joker has on his roster.
Right now, yeah.
That's 2 more, correct?
Yep.
So you got this. I don't understand what that means.
And I'm looking at
what does that mean?
I'm looking at the multi-year. So I thought to myself, maybe are their contracts coming up and they haven't re-signed them? No, they're all signed for this year and next year, and most of them have a player option for the year after that. So it's not even like you can say, hey, these guys aren't going to get contract extensions and I need you to put a team around me. Like, I'm not sure what he means when he
Make
says
a free throw, Giannis.
Oh, that was low.
Make a free throw. I mean, I'm trying to be nice. The guy's a great dude. I love Giannis. I love him.
And
but, I mean, what right do you have to call out your franchise and say, "Are you committed to winning?" Make a free throw. Or don't lose to the Miami Heat 4-1. Let's start there.
And I want you to think about what's the last thing you heard from Giannis. What's the last thing you heard out of his mouth? Oh, this season wasn't a failure. You think every year you don't win a championship is a failure?
That's why this is so weird to hear it from him. What is going on? Quote. What is going on here? Is there it feels like some ulterior motive. Something else is happening. Why would he stick his head out and say, "This is my ultimatum"? Why would he go public with this? And doesn't it make you respect the fact that we have a guy here that would never do anything like that?
Not only one, Vic, we've got a couple. Nathan McKinnon wouldn't do it. Cale McCarr wouldn't do it. Joker didn't do it. These guys, we've mentioned it before. We have some of the most humble superstars on the planet, and they all happen to play here.
6630 says Giannis is just trying to flex on his organization. Flex what?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Flex what? He's a 2-time MVP. He's an NBA champion. And you got beat in the first round by an 8 seed. That's your problem. That's not the organization's problem. If a player comes out and blames the organization, for what? You got all the talent in the world. You had the deepest bench in the NBA. Look at Milwaukee's bench last year. Look at Milwaukee's roster. You got beat in the first round by the team that the Nuggets beat in the NBA Finals.
Well, and Marty made the point, like, why is he even talking about it now? I know he's eligible to sign the extension. I know people normally want to sign the extension, but it's interesting that he's got 2 years and a player option left on this contract. So, yeah, I mean, do you have to address that you're not going to sign an extension yet? Or is he doing it to, like, fire a shot at the Bucks and say, hey, you better bring in another guy? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The timing of it is so strange, Vic.
I'm at wit's end with some of the activity taking place among the higher powers of the NBA. It's sad. A couple people saying that secretly he wants to be a Laker. If that's the case, what are we doing?
Well, I mean, how do you feel about the Dame thing? That's
what
it's
are
the
we
same
doing?
thing.
Yeah, everybody's got a problem. Dame's got a problem. He wants out. Dame's been a good man for years. Finally wants out. Now Embiid probably wants out because Harden wants out. Giannis is threatening his organization. LeBron is basically the GM of his organization. Just play ball, man.
Well, and you signed the contract, right? Like nobody forced you to sign the contract. Dame signed a contract extension last summer.
I just don't understand what Giannis is. What's he mad about? Milwaukee. It's one thing to say if Milwaukee had not added any pieces to help him win, then I'd say he has every right to be mad. And if Dame were Damian Lillard has a right. That team has sucked for a few years. Okay, Milwaukee has spent all kinds of cash on players. What's he upset about?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. And they're signed long term too. It's not like they're all their contracts are expiring or something like that. It's very strange. And it makes me circle back to Embiid just like you did. James Harden is like an aging superstar. And if he gets traded, all of a sudden there's rumors that Embiid would want out too.
Have at it.
He goes on and says in the offseason, I just want to win a championship. I don't know if it's in Philadelphia or somewhere else.
It gives me pride to say the least dysfunctional elite team in the NBA is the team that resides here in Denver, Colorado.
Well, and so we talked about how people said in the offseason that the Nuggets haven't done a whole lot. And guess what? It's because everything's pretty stable
they're
here.
Pretty happy.
Yeah,
they get
they're
along.
Pretty good to go.
You know, what did Brucey B say when he got to Indiana? He said, it's the best locker room I've ever played in. He loved the locker room. He loved the chemistry. He loved the guys. A lot to be said.
And like a culture of development, too, that hopefully develops the next wave of stars to fill these bench roles that we need them to fill.
You got to love the room, dude. When the Avs won their cup, they always talked about how much they loved the room. It's about the room, too. Now, it's not always the case. When the Denver Broncos won back-to-back Super Bowls in the 90s, they didn't all get along.
Yeah.
Do you remember the whole the Romanowski versus Shannon Sharp thing that was going on? They didn't get along. It wasn't like all marching in the same line there, but they won. Because once they got on the field, that was all gone.
And winning solves a lot. And it's probably part of the reason that locker room was so good for the Nuggets is because they were winning a lot of games. But it's not like the Bucks were terrible. You know what I mean? They were the 1 seed. So where is this discontent coming from? Is it just the playoff failure that does this?
I don't know. I'm glad it's not us.
Yeah, and Giannis said it's not a failure, so excuse me. All right, coming up next, we'll talk about what Vic wants to see in this upcoming Denver Broncos preseason game, including some of the stadium renovations on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
Superbook. You want to bet on sports locally? The best odds, the best boosts for the home teams provided by Superbook, locally owned and run. Superbook.com. Download it today. Superbook.com. Bet on your squads in or out of town. Nuggets, of course, among the favorites to win the NBA title. The Broncos. I'm not sure how you bet on preseason football, but I can tell you this. 6-point favorites against the Rams tomorrow night at home. It's their first game in the restructured, recovered, rehabbed Mile High Stadium. Their one and only preseason game at home. Guys trying to make the final cut. Is 6 points enough against a pretty shabby Rams team? Well, put your money down. Superbook. That's superbook.com. And don't forget, Any betting issues, any gambling problems, 1-800-522-4700. See, you'd be a good parent.
I would.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, you're fostering a dog right now.
I am, yeah.
And
I
I
have
said,
to give him up tomorrow. It's tough.
That's sad. I said, how do you make sure the dog is disciplined? And you said you got to be firm hand. I'm telling you, your fostering of dogs will help you become a better parent. I wish I were a little more firm.
Well, we'll see. Because it takes two people to agree for me to become a parent. And
I can help you out with that.
Finding the second is,
Marty.
How's that?
Marty, you foster dogs as well. Do you think you'll become a better parent because of your fostering experience?
Yes, sure.
No, I'm dead serious.
I would imagine so. Yes, I have some authoritarian skills from this now. Yeah.
And you have like a list of priorities, a schedule. Don't pee there.
Don't pee there.
That
Don't
kind
pee
of
there.
stuff.
You can pee over there. Yes.
Pee now. Right.
Yeah.
So you do want to provide some kids in your life, don't you?
I would be happy to have children. I don't need to have children, but it's not a problem for me. But after watching you be authoritarian on the show, I don't know that I want to be
not that
a
at home.
parent. Oh, no, really?
I wish I were.
What's your at home? What's your dad mode like?
I wish it were more firm. I put it that way. I wish I had some. I'm not soft. I wish I had the ability to navigate. Being a parent's the hardest thing in the world.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's harder than anything. You know, this job's easy compared to being a parent's hard.
100%.
And being a dual parent, like understanding what you and your mate want to do together is hard because you might have different thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that, it comes up. You got to deal with it. You got to navigate those waters. It's not easy. Good luck.
Really selling it.
Good luck.
really making me want to jump right into the parenting thing. All right. Rams and Broncos tomorrow night at Empower Field and a newly renovated Empower Field. So you've kind of said already you don't expect to see too much. Real quickly before we get to the renovations, is there anything that you want to see tomorrow night
I think
from your Denver Broncos?
Tomorrow night, if you're a Broncos fan, you bask in the new stadium and the renovations you will see, $100 million worth. Understand that it's the third preseason game. Coach has told you that he's not going to play guys for that long. I don't know how you can play guys for that long, given what happened yesterday. I'd be a little tentative at this point. You lost Jerry Jeudy. What do you really want to accomplish? You had 2 practices against these guys. What does tomorrow night prove? So if I'm a Broncos fan, enjoy the tailgate, have a good time, go to the stadium, check out the new scoreboard, and know what you got is a bunch of dudes trying to make the final cut, most of which already know. I'll ask you, roster's all but done. Maybe, what do you think, 5 spots? 6 spots?
Leggy said it was like numbers 45 through 53. Yeah. But he also thinks that they're going to be hunting on the waiver wire. So
45 positions are already fortified on this football team going into tomorrow night's game. Think about that. Yeah. 45 positions.
Which might even be a low number, to be honest.
Your team's already set. So what you're seeing tomorrow night is dudes playing for other teams.
Here's the thing, though, Vic. And I don't know, maybe this is naive of me. But without Tim Patrick, with Jerry Jeudy missing the first couple weeks, I really do want to see something from these wide receivers. And it's not about if they make the team or not. It's about who's getting snapped out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's important to me to see these guys come out and shine a little bit.
I take a completely different approach. I'm a little spooked right now. I don't touch any of my top 5 receivers. They don't touch the field last night.
Really?
Or tomorrow night. They
Even
don't touch
guys
the
like
field.
Little Jordan Humphrey.
I wouldn't put them on the field.
Really?
You can't afford another injury. I wouldn't put him out there. I mean, not that I don't want to see him. I'm like you. I want to see him, but
like if you don't want to put Cortland Sutton out there, that's fine with me. I totally understand that. If you don't want to put Dulcich out there, fine with me. I totally understand that. But like, I want to see Kendall Hinton play. I want to see Marvin Mims play.
God forbid Mims runs a route and pulls up too.
But you can't do that. You can't play scared, Vic. You can't. You can't be the coach that's like, oh, well, I'm afraid of injury. Look what happened when they didn't do it last year.
Well, that's the beauty of this coach is that he really doesn't seem that shaken by it. Yesterday, his reaction to the Jeudy injury wasn't one of, oh, God. It was, hey, happens. Next.
And the field in Arizona, right, didn't deter him from playing his guys a significant amount of time.
Yeah, God, I'm watching Najee Harris take a screen pass from Pickett last night and take it 25 yards with ease. And that Pittsburgh offense, so explosive. First 2 series, they play their starters. First 2 series, they find the end zone. And I'm thinking to myself, have we seen one series from the Broncos so far in this preseason that resembles any of those 2 in Pittsburgh last night? Any of them? Actually, the game was in Atlanta. But anything that says, whoa, I haven't seen one yet. Have you?
They've had a couple good drives. But
like that?
Not like that. Which is why I feel like you saying, oh, don't play anybody. I don't know. It feels very Hackett-ish.
Yeah.
Don't make me say it, but it feels very Nathaniel Hackett-ish.
I agree.
And you still wouldn't play him.
I just don't see the need to play him tomorrow night.
If you don't want to play the whole starting defense, I'm fine with that too. Yeah. I think the defense has been fine. They had a rough first drive against the Niners. Other than that, I feel like they've been pretty solid.
Yeah. Expect to see a lot of third stringers, a lot of guys trying to get noticed on the waiver wire. And if you're a Bronco fan, enjoy the scenery. I'm going right after the show. They're giving us a tour of the new renovations. And I can't wait to see how big the scoreboard looks. Because not only did they increase the size of the scoreboard in the south stands, but I guess they placed one on the north side too.
The 2 big ones in the corners?
Yeah.
They redid those?
I think they made those more prominent. So they did something to the suites. They did something. They built this big lounge area. You know how we have the Club Lexus at Ball Arena?
Yeah.
They did something similar to that at Mile High, where you can buy season tickets and just lounge in this lounge area.
Really?
Yeah. So you're basically just hanging out, socializing, watching the game.
Not all of us are Vic Lombardi. We don't get invites to those kind of things. You know what I mean?
Dude. The last person, I hate watching a game when you have to socialize at the same time. Like, I love visiting.
It must be so rough, Vic.
No, I'm not
Lexus
trying. No, I like to watch the game. When I'm at home, Rob, I'm by myself in my office.
I'm just
See, that's why you fall asleep all the time, Vic. You need to be talking to someone.
There it is. How about
Do you
that?
like to watch a game among people? I'm just curious.
Depends what the game is.
It's a serious game. Your team's involved.
As long as I can focus on the game while talking to people.
Right? No, I don't like people around me.
But I'll talk to you in the commercials and stuff like that. As long as I can focus on the game when the game's going on. That's what's important to me, right?
All right, like tomorrow, Notre Dame plays Navy.
Not an important game.
Well, for me, it is.
No, it's not.
For me, so nobody watches with me. Like I always, hey, my brothers, come on over, watch the game. No. Nope.
So how do you feel
Broncos
about like
games
Super Bowl
by
parties?
myself?
How do you feel about like Super Bowl parties?
No, don't do parties.
Even for it's
I can't. I can't do. I'm weird. I admit it. I'm weird.
last year's Eagles Chiefs. Like
No.
it's not. You don't have any connection to it. It doesn't matter. It's just the Super Bowl.
If I've written off the game as just socialization, yeah, great. Let's go have fun, drink a little bit. I won't even watch the game. But if I'm really paying attention to the game, I have to watch I don't have good focus.
It really depends on who you're watching it with, too. If you're watching with someone who's got a comment on every single play, oh, God, these refs are terrible. Oh, that's a flag. That's a foul. Just shut up, all right? It just depends who you're watching it with.
That's why I'm a don't talk to me while the game is going on guy.
Dude,
right? I don't need your commentary too.
When I used to go to my kids' games, I used to just sit by myself in the corners.
Oh, parents are a whole different ballgame.
But I don't like to hear people talk during games, especially when I don't want to hear this. I want to be in my own little area watching a game when focusing on what's going on. I don't like chatter.
So I got a question for you. Did you ever coach any of your kids' teams?
I did.
How did that go?
I was terrible. I was a horrible coach. Terrible.
Because you got kicked out all the time?
I was a terrible coach.
What did you coach?
I pulled a fake punt on a 4th and 21 that went backwards.
And they just said, hey, Vic Lombardi's a sports guy. Let him be the head coach.
Coaches are special people. Coaches are like teachers. Coaches are just as influential as teachers. My most influential people in my life were my early coaches.
Oh, 100%.
I think, you'll always remember your coaches, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. Go back to when you were a kid. Very influential people, patient people. And I can't say enough for coaches. For those of you who do it, by the way, there are coaches who coach because their kids play. That was me. That was a lot of people. Your kid plays, so you coach. Okay? And then there are coaches who coach for the love of the coaching, just because they want to coach kids. Those are the special ones, in my opinion. Those are the ones that deserve all the credit in the world. Not because your kid's playing and you just want to hang out with your kid. That was me. That's what I did.
Yeah. It's been a very nice ode that you're paying to coaches here. But I think you're dancing around what's your record as a coach, Vic?
Basketball or football. Our basketball team was solid. We won Gold Crown.
Okay, good.
We won Gold Crown. We're the only Golden team to win Gold Crown.
Because you didn't have to make the decision of if you go for it on 4th and 21
exactly
or not.
Right.
So what was your record as a football coach?
We got to the Carnation Bowl once.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, once.
Played in a couple Carnation Bowls myself.
Did you really? Isn't that great?
Yeah. A lot of fun.
How old were you when you played in those?
I think it was 11 and 12.
How cool is that?
Yeah, very cool.
What stadium did you play in?
We played in the one out by Trailblazer, the Jeffco Stadium out there, right off Kipling. Yeah. That was where we played.
Anything cooler than that?
It was awesome. It was really cool. It was an experience you'll never forget.
Coaches, you deserve a ton of credit. Those of you who coach just for the sake of coaching, who take time out of your busy schedules just to look forward to coaching, that is special, man.
And
it really is.
To that point, you're going to be calling high school football games.
Can't wait.
On Fridays this year, right here on Altitude Sports Radio.
Altitude Sports Radio will be the home of high school football. We're going to carry select games this season. Biggest games on the schedule. We will be carrying those live starting in September.
Very exciting. It's going to be very cool. All right, what's not very cool? Rocky's now on pace to lose 100 games. And we've got some more depressing news about it coming up next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. It's Moser, Lombardi and Kane. He is Vic Lombardi. I'm Rob Trujillo sitting in. Some weird pictures coming out of Russia, man.
Unfortunately, it's taken a lot of NHL folks and Avalanche fans. It's taken notice. I have not seen these photos until you showed me, but it's not the way you had hoped to see Val Nichushkin for the first time since his incident, because we haven't heard or seen him since. Right?
And we've gotten really no info on it, just that the NHL has cleared him to play. And at some point during training camp, we expected that he was going to have to address it, or the team was going to have to address it or something. Now he's spending the last part of his offseason in Russia and posted a couple photos with what looks like, an AK-47 or something like that.
That might be just common in Russia. I mean, I'm not one to pass judgment on what you do in your free time photoshopping. I mean, if you want to take photos.
But people killed John Morant for it. I mean, he was just driving around with his friend. And
John Morant was in that strip joint right there.
Well, with that too. But the second time he was just driving around with his friend.
I agree.
And I don't know if the gun was legal or not. And I don't know if this gun is legal. He's in Russia. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It looks like maybe it's his brother's, not his. So I don't know. I mean, we had a couple people text in and ask Vic, like, what's your take on it? But I just don't know that there's a whole lot to say about it.
I don't have a real take on that. I mean, everyone's got different frills and different, but you're right. If you're going to rip John Morant for gunplay, you have to hold everybody by that same standard, don't you?
Unless you're only saying it because the laws are different here. I don't know what gun laws are in Russia. And I don't know if Jaw's gun was legal or not.
Holding a gun is not illegal.
No, but it's also the look, especially after how his season ended.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
On that we agree. Not the best look. You'd rather have him holding a baby.
Right, yeah. Well, and he just had some really positive stuff come out. He donated a bunch of money to player development academy in Russia, Tractor. It's not what you want to see right before the season kicks off, for sure.
I am eager to get the season to kick off so we don't have to mess with this off-season turmoil anymore, because the way the Avs season ended, you could rightfully say they lost to Seattle the day that Nichushkin thing happened. They lost him. If they have Val for that series, I think they win. It's a 7-game series.
Well, that and, Cale Makar.
You saw what happened to Cale, and he
started playing different. It was not what you wanted to see because he was, I think, afraid of getting suspended again.
Let's go ahead and retool, right? Let's come in with the proper mindset and see if they can get this thing back in order. Some players need that order of playing. Like the worst thing that can happen is an off season. That's when things go off the rails. They need the consistency of a season, of a regimen, of a schedule.
Sure.
I think it's good for them.
Well, they're unfortunately going to have to address what happened at the end of last season and now probably this as well.
I don't think they have to address it at all.
You don't think that there's going to be a million questions about it, and that if they don't just come out and at the first day of camp and have a statement and stuff like that?
Well, see, that's the thing. In this world, you can ask all the questions you want. Doesn't mean they have to answer them.
Yeah, but would you rather
There's
questions?
no law that says you have to answer the question.
Would you rather the questions continue, or would you rather just get it out of the way the first day of camp and then it's done? You
can ask the question every day till you're blue in the face. Doesn't mean they're going to answer the question.
I agree with you. I mean, I get what you're saying. It's just the question is, do you still want that around for the entire camp because they'll keep asking until they get an answer.
Sure. Well, some will, some won't.
Yeah. All right. So as we mentioned, the Rockies lose yesterday and now are officially on pace to lose 100 games for the first time in their franchise history. Franchise history that is maybe a little bit bleaker than all of us think. We're not even super positive on them, and yet Vic found out last night that maybe it's a little bit worse than even we thought.
I read an article from Nick Groke, who was with The Athletic. He wrote this for the Colorado Sun. You can find it at Colorado Sun or on Nick's Twitter feed. That it's a long article that just detailed the history of the Rockies. And I think we all know the history. 1993, the team started here. It was a rocky start nonetheless. But boy, did they get people. Close to 5 million people showed up for games that first year.
They're filling
That's still
a
a record.
70, 80,000 seat stadium.
Yeah, they're getting $2 million a year. Yeah. The seats are being filled. But the attendance doesn't match the results. And when I saw this, it just took me back Because when I think of the Rockies, I was like, God, I still can't get 07 out of my mind. It was so great.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Long time ago.
And it feels like yesterday. That's what's crazy about this, Rob. 07 to me, or October to me, feels like yesterday. It feels like it just happened. And yet it's how many years ago?
But do you want to know why that is? Because they haven't really had much success since then. A couple playoff appearances.
I'm reading some of this stuff from him and from Nick. Listen to this. Since the beginning of the expansion era in 1961, the Rockies have the third worst record in baseball since 61, the beginning of the expansion era. And they've never won their own division, let alone a World Series.
It's so remarkable.
The Marlins, who have the worst record in that span, they've won 2 World Series. The Diamondbacks, who got into the league 5 years after the Rockies, they've got the second worst record, or among the worst records. They've won a World Series, and they've won the division 5 times. The closest the Rockies have come to winning the division, remember 2018 when they had that playoff game?
Yeah, 163.
Yeah, against the Dodgers.
Yep.
That's as close as they've ever come.
I really thought they were going to win that game.
So did I. That's as close as they've ever come. The only team in Denver sports, obviously not to win a championship, but not to win their own division. That to me is stunning. And I know we've heard that stat before, but when you put it on that kind of calendar, you go back to 1961, the expansion era, third worst team in baseball.
What's the one consistent?
Padres are worse at 464 winning percentage since 93. Marlins are the worst at 462. Rockies are at 466. So they're just mere percentage points apart.
And listen, like you said, stadium's still full. Because it's a nice afternoon or evening in downtown Denver at Coors Field.
I don't know how you fix it.
I don't know that you can. Not unless you make sweeping changes to the organization.
When they had those 2 years when they almost won the division, that year you're talking about, 2018 and 19, did you think it was fixed? Because it quickly fell apart.
It did. It fell apart rapidly. What made those teams so good? Their starting pitching was pretty solid. And I know everybody points to Arenado and Trevor Story, and they had the hitting and they had the star power, right? Charlie was playing back. But their starting pitching, if you go back and look at their starting pitching, it was really good. Really good.
But that's why Nolan said what he said about,
yes,
I want to compete. Like, you had enough. There were enough pieces there.
But they kept the starting pitchers, and they couldn't keep them healthy, Rob.
But you needed to get, like, just another, you needed to go for it. And that's what he meant when he said, like, I want to see that you're committed to winning. You needed to go for it.
What does that mean?
Sign a big free agent, a big bat, a starting pitcher, whatever that is.
The mistake they made was going Ian Desmond's route.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
They chose the wrong free agent. The mistake they made was letting their second baseman go to New York for the same amount of money they spent.
Brutal.
Who? Daniel Murphy? They gave Daniel Murphy the same contract.
To play a position that he didn't play.
Another mistake they made was they finally spent money on their bullpen, which needed money spent on it, but they just made the wrong decisions. Wade Davis was terrible. They signed the other guy from Cleveland who was awful. Like, they tried and they did it right, but they just picked the wrong guy.
Well, and that's where we have to be fair, okay? They've spent the money.
Oh, I don't think they're not spending.
They're not the Oakland A's. They've spent the money.
But even when you fail like that.
But they've spent it in the worst possible way.
Yeah, even when you fail like that. You have enough of a core to still be competitive. Mm-hmm. You got to try again.
I just don't think.
You got to cut bait and try again.
Yeah, in 07, if everybody remembers, one of the reasons why the Rockies suddenly became competitive in 07, a couple of years before then, they introduced the humidor to Coors Field. A few years before, they started experimenting with the humidor. And now it's pretty common. A lot of ballparks regulate their baseballs, okay? Back then, it was like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah.
They thought there were some tricky things. The San Francisco Giants accused the Rockies of manipulating the baseballs. But the humidor helped save the franchise at a time when it needed it most. It really did offer a neutral surrounding, a neutral field where they could pitch.
Yeah.
And that year, they pitched their way in the second half of the season. Their team ERA, look at 07. Second half of the season, I think they had the best starter ERA in the National League second half. And that's what thrust them to the World Series. Well, eventually those pitchers get hurt. They don't hold up. And they lost that magic. 2 years later, they got to back to the playoffs, but they weren't the same.
Yeah.
In 18 and 19, those starting pitchers, look at every single one of them got hurt. Every single one of them. Marquez, hurt. Senzatella, hurt.
And I know you go through good years and bad years, but with the Avs, even with the Nuggets, you always felt like they were going to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like eventually, I don't have that same feeling with the Rockies. Like right now, I feel like the Broncos eventually will figure it out.
When's the last time we dissected a Rockies game on the show?
That's what I'm saying, man.
Marty, when's the last time we sat here the day after a Rockies game like we would after a Nuggets, Avs, or Broncos game and actually dissected the game?
Opening day, maybe?
But even
honest to God.
Even opening day, like you sit there and you're like, hey, today's opening day. How exciting. All right, let's talk about the Broncos. You
And
know
that's
what I mean?
sad.
Like it's just, they're an afterthought. And it's tough, man. It's tough because this is such a good sports town that it could be a great baseball town. And
apathy is the word.
Yeah.
Apathy is the enemy.
Yeah.
Apathy is the worst thing, and apathy has shown its face when it comes to the Rockies, unfortunately. Now, it happens to a lot of franchises, but I do believe it's not without trying. They have tried. They've just made the wrong choices.
By the way, speaking of baseball, which we don't talk about a lot because of this, but did you see Shohei is going to continue to hit?
Yeah. Just as I suspected. Why not?
But
hit?
his team's out of it. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you?
Because he's going for the MVP. You can't sit out the last 2 months. He'd lose the MVP.
Yeah.
So it becomes a personal endeavor?
I mean, he's going to be a free agent this year. Having
Good
2
point.
MVPs under your belt is
That's
big
a good
negotiating
point.
tactic.
I was watching Jeff Passan's report last night, and everybody thinks, oh, what a bad break for Shohei. And he doesn't think it'll impact his free agency at all.
At all?
At all. He thinks the numbers will still be ridiculous.
I think the numbers will still be ridiculous if Shohei comes out strong and says, I am going to be both a pitcher and a hitter. But I think he's got to make that point to teams that you're going to let him do both and you're going to pay for both too. You know what I mean? I think that's part of his allure. Also in baseball news, the Mets say that they're going to retire the numbers of Gooden and Strawberry. And their first names are both escaping me at the moment. Help me out.
Dwight Gooden, Darryl Strawberry.
Thank you very
much. The
much.
heyday of the 80s Mets.
And it made me think, who's the next Denver athlete whose number you feel like needs to go up somewhere?
Well,
I feel like there's not like a whole bunch of people waiting to get their number retired in Denver sports lore right now.
Well, earlier you were talking about statues, since the Lakers are going to unveil a Kobe statue in front of Crypto.com.
Uh-huh.
A statue and a number retired are two different things.
Yeah, very different.
If you do the number thing like they've done at Mile High, they have all the numbers in the Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
They have the numbers in the rafters at Ball Arena. The numbers are one thing. That means you're one of the greats to ever play the game in our franchise, right? If you do a statue, you transcend greatness. You are the reason we are here today.
Yeah.
You are the reason we are great.
But I don't even think there's too many numbers waiting to be retired.
But I mean, how many? Let's just talk statues. For the Broncos, there's one, and you know who that is. There's one transcendent figure in Denver Broncos history who deserves a statue.
Part of every Super Bowl they've won.
It's John Elway.
Yeah.
It's John Elway. He's the only one. The only one.
I've heard some older people make a case for Floyd Little. You don't think so?
They didn't win. They didn't win. And I love Floyd. Floyd's a Hall of Famer. Floyd's one of my favorite Broncos of all time. Floyd was called the franchise.
Yeah.
They didn't win.
Okay. So then, but if you say that about Elway, then the same logic has to apply to Sakic, doesn't it?
Of course.
Been part of all three of their championships.
I agree. If they ever were to entertain putting a statue in front of Ball Arena honoring a member of the Avalanche, that statue would have to be Joe Sakic.
Right.
And only Joe.
And we all know
and
that.
That's it.
We all know that for the Nuggets, it's a guy who's still
Way too
playing.
early.
We gotta wait. We just gotta wait.
Can't even think about that.
It's gonna happen. But is there anybody for the Rockies that you would put into that?
The only one I'd entertain is Todd Helton.
And I don't know that you would retire or put up a statue of him.
I mean, statues, man. That's
That's a whole different level.
That's a whole different
It's
deal, right?
You would have the perfect statue of him holding his glove.
That would be awesome.
It would be a great
When
statue.
they clinched it.
Yeah.
When they clinched it, is there a better look? Think about a celebratory moment. Remember when Elway's hands went up?
Yeah.
Remember Elway's hands?
Yeah, that's interesting. What would you want the statue to be for Elway or for Sakic?
God, for Sakic, it'd have to be a wrister. It would have
I
to
mean,
be
if
just
you're
sitting
showing
there,
him in action,
like
yeah.
a bent stick.
Yeah.
Like a bent stick, right? Getting ready to lift one,
Yeah.
top shelf.
And what about him just holding the cup, though?
I thought about what about him handing it to Bork? Because I think that's one of the like iconic moments in NHL history.
Well, then you need to give a statue to Ray
And
Bork,
we're not
too.
doing two statues here,
I
bro.
mean, I'm just saying,
These things cost
it's
money.
the only time in history that a
You gotta go to
captain got
Italy and
handed
have
the
some
cup
guy
and
do all-
didn't raise it.
We're not doing that. We're not doing all this. We're not spending extra money on this. It's one person. You know how much these things cost? To bronze a statue?
I think Mr. Kroenke can afford it. I believe in him.
Now, Mile High's got that Ring of Fame, the faces.
Yeah, they got like busts out there.
I like that. That's cool.
Plaques.
That whole area. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah. So the Twitch chat has dropped it down a level, and I kind of want to get your take on that too. Couple names people have thrown out about retired numbers. Terrell Davis. Do you think he's done enough? That 30 should be retired for the Broncos.
Well, the parameters of how you retire numbers, that's a tough one for me because that's got to be, again, transcendent players.
I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame.
But if you take all the Broncos Hall of Famers, are you going to retire all their numbers then? Are you going to retire Shannon Sharp's 84?
Can you?
Are you going to retire Champ Bailey's number? His 24?
Does Champ deserve it? I think Champ does.
I don't think you start retiring all those numbers. I think you limit that, man.
Yeah. Okay, well, you've got
I think you
3
gotta limit
retired
that.
numbers right now. You got 44 for Floyd Little, 7 for Elway, and then 18 for Tripucka and Manning. That's it? You don't think anybody else?
No, I don't think anybody else qualifies yet.
What about Vaughn?
No.
When Vaughn
No.
finally hangs it up?
No.
You don't.
He doesn't qualify.
You don't retire 58?
Well, he'll be in the Ring of Fame.
Sure.
He'll
But
be
you
in the
don't
Ring of
retire.
Honor.
You don't
No.
retire 58.
No.
Super Bowl MVP.
No. The answer is
Face
no.
of that team.
If I were doing the voting, it'd be no.
Interesting. All right. What about Carmelo Anthony
What are we talking about here?
retiring the number?
His number belongs to Nikola Jokic.
I mean, I know, but are you
his
going to
memory? His memory will be served in some capacity. You know, down the line, his number can be shared in some capacity, but that number will forever be known as Nikola Jokic's number in Nuggets lore.
No doubt. But are you going to put a banner in the rafters for him?
Would I do it? Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yes, I would. I would. Now, will they? I don't know. Hell, I'd do it sooner than later. I'm on team embrace Carmelo and what he did to this community. I know it didn't end well. I know it left a sour taste. I know people don't like him. I know Moser would start yelling at me.
People are mad on the
I know
Twitch
they're
chat
mad.
when
I know they're
brought
mad. But see, I'm about, man, I want you to see this piece on ESPN that they ran over the weekend. It's about forgiveness and what it does to soothe the mind. Forgive. I forgive him. I do. I also recognize what he did to the city. 10 years of great basketball. It was awesome. I forgive him. It didn't end well. He wanted out. He forced a trade. Nobody liked it.
And they won a lot.
And they won off that trade. They got Jamal Murray off that trade, and now they won a title. And they did it without him.
They won a lot, but they didn't win anything, Vic.
I'm a better human than you are. I forgive him.
Oh, who said I don't forgive him? But I'm just pointing out that they didn't win anything. And that's kind of what we said about Todd Helton and the Rockies is, you know, hey, do you build a statue of Todd? Well, they didn't really win anything.
I think the day will come where he comes home, he comes to Denver, and he is, again, greeted by a crowd that appreciates what he did. It may not be now, it may not be this year, maybe 5 years. It's going to happen.
I think you would get a warm welcome. Do you think there would be boos? Is that what you're saying?
Sure. There's always going to be. Moser's always going to be there. Moser doesn't
Why
forget.
wasn't he a part of this? Like, why didn't he come to like game, 4 at Ball Arena?
I don't know.
For the finals.
I don't know. The only comments Carmelo Anthony's made about the Nuggets publicly were the ones that he made to me at Summer League. He didn't talk to ESPN. He wouldn't do it. I asked him about it. Do we still have those? See if you can fish those out. Because when I heard him talk, he's like, yeah, I was rooting. Now, he may have just been saying that.
Right. Because he knew.
He wants to make peace.
Right.
But he seemed authentic to me.
Bonesaw on Twitch says, wait, how do you retire Carmelo's number and not Vaughn's? Vaughn played an instrumental part in helping the Broncos win the third Super Bowl.
I don't, again, my football retirement numbers, it's harder to do. I don't retire Carmelo's number. His number is not going to get retired.
But if you
'cause
put
it
a
belongs
banner
to
in the
Nikola
rafters,
Jokic.
that's what it is.
But I think Carmelo is one of the top 10 Nuggets players of all time. Put it that way. And if you're going to get into that thing, give me the top 10 Nuggets of all time. If he's not in your top 10, you're drunk, you're high, you're foolish. All of the above.
All right. Okay. Coming up next, we got Drunk Takes. Make sure you stay tuned to Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Altitude Sports Radio, 92.5. It's Moser, Lombardi and Kane. He is Vic Lombardi. I'm Rob Trujillo filling in. And we've entered the preseason betting portion of the show, where Vic picks all the games that are going to be happening tonight and gives you betting advice on what you should put your money on. Detroit versus Carolina, Vic. Who you got?
Oh, got it.
You got to pick one.
I'll
Detroit
take the home team
versus Carolina. No? Okay. New England, Tennessee.
Give me the home team.
Chargers versus San Francisco.
I'll take the road team.
All right, there you go. That was your betting segment with Vic Lombardi. Your preseason football betting.
Takes a special person to do that preseason betting. You better know your stuff, and you better know who's playing.
I've done it a couple times.
Have you?
I've put down a couple of. I won 2 or 3. I won 2 or 3.
Luckily, or did you do it because you did some work on it?
I did not do work on it, but I was like, I know that this guy is the backup quarterback, and I like him, so he's probably going to see a bunch of time.
Sure.
I'll bet on that.
Sure. I have no idea, man. Like Broncos Rams tomorrow night, you're going to see a lot of Stetson Bennett, a lot of them, right? And you're going to see a lot of Jarrett Stidham, and a lot of Ben DiNucci.
And who do you like better?
Well, I like the way Stetson Bennett throws the ball. He is all risk, man. He will either throw a pick six or a 50-yard touchdown.
Which means that you're putting money on Stetson Bennett?
I do think this. I think tomorrow night's game will be the highest scoring game of the preseason.
Oh, it would be nice to see a whole bunch of points. I'm not going to lie.
I think that.
Did you see that they announced the student package for the NFL Sunday ticket?
What does that mean?
So YouTube, first year that they have the NFL Sunday ticket, it was like $450.
Okay.
Now they're offering the NFL Sunday ticket to students, anybody who is enrolled at a university or college, for $100.
Really?
Yeah.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing I'm doing is I'm calling my kid.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
I'm calling my kid. I'm saying, you're going to enroll in this, and I'm going to be able to get it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, who's got a student ID I can borrow? So I
that's the first thing you got to do, right?
YouTube Sunday ticket for $100. It's $100. It's 109 or 119 if you want Red Zone 2.
So what do you get for this?
You get.
What do you mean Red Zone 2?
As well.
Oh,
Red
I
Zone
see.
as well.
Okay, it's like there's like a Red Zone 2?
No. If you want Red Zone as well, it's an extra $10. But
do you have to do it by a certain time? Or is there a deadline?
They didn't mention one, not that I saw.
And you get every game, any game you want,
as long as it's out of market. So local games,
out of market games,
right? You can watch over the air.
See, all I want, to be honest, is Red Zone. What if you just want Red Zone?
There were a couple people who were like, "Can I just pay $10 and get Red Zone?"
I just want Red Zone. See, I don't need to. I'm not like a Bills fan like you are. I don't need to see a full game out of market. I don't care about that. Red Zone to me fits every need I need.
Do you feel like you get a good capsule of the game though watching Red Zone?
Enough for me. I will sit there on a Sunday morning. I love when the Broncos play afternoon games. I love it. It's the best setup because I'll sit there at 11 a.m. on a Sunday morning and Red Zone the hell out of it. I don't care about the Bills. I don't care about the Dolphins. I don't care about the Commanders.
At no point do you flip over because you want to see a specific game.
No. Unless it's something late in the season that will have an impact on my team and I need to see something. But I love Red Zone. So is there a way? Maybe our listeners, is there a way you can just get Red Zone?
I don't know. I haven't heard of one in terms of that. I know a lot of people were asking about it, but this was unveiled months after they unveiled the full price.
Oh, dude.
So maybe
people will be sending their kids to college just to get Red Zone.
I thought to myself, like, do I sign up for a class and then drop out just so I can get a student ID?
Kid, we can't afford the $45,000 a year. Wait. You get Red Zone for $100? Well, let's go.
Like, what is the refund policy?
Just the
on
fall
a class?
semester,
right? Yeah. What's
no
the
spring.
What's the refund policy on a class? Can I sign up for it and then if I drop it in 2 weeks, I don't have to pay for it? How does
college
this work?
is so expensive, man.
It's crazy.
It's just the amount of money I've dropped for college it's ridiculous. It's stupid. I mean, it's life-changing money. The amount of money someone told me if I just took that money and gave it to my kids and had them invest it, they'd probably end up with a lot more money. This whole college thing, don't even get me started. Get Red Zone for $100. I want my money back.
I do have one more quick question about it, though. So something I feel like you lose if you live in the market where your team is. Have you ever gone to a bar to watch a Broncos game, Vic?
No.
Right. Like, you've never done that before. And being around a whole bunch of fans watching the game, celebrating together is like a different experience. So you've been at games, you've of course been in the press box.
Yeah, that is different. It's like a church,
right? Yeah, I mean, kind of,
because you can't be there, but you go to Bills bars, right, to watch the Bills games.
Yeah, and I sit with 200 Bills fans.
Okay, but is everybody focused?
Yeah, everyone's locked in. For the most part, everyone's locked in on the game, and they know not to talk to me if they're not. But it's just a different experience to watch it with 200 people.
Can you hear the sound?
Yeah, and that is an important part to me. Yeah,
I don't do the bars where there's no sound. Can't do it.
I think we should get you out to like a watch party somewhere.
Got to have sound. Got to be able to see. Got to be able to.
Nice, comfy chair. Right. Somebody serving you food and drinks.
Here's the one thing you can't do that I can do from my comfort home, though. When you're watching a game at a bar and you see a play that you want to see again.
Yeah, that's tough.
Boom, DVR, sucker.
It's tough. It's tough for sure. All right, we end the week every week with drunk takes. It's sounds, clips from the show slowed down to make it sound like we're drunk. Marty, what do we got?
I challenged a member of the media. I offered them $20 to reach their hand up my back just to feel my back sweat.
Oh, God, please stop.
And no one took me up on that. That's easy.
You didn't ask me.
Please.
If you would have done it, that's why I didn't
ask.
ask. That's how much I was sweating at Broncos practice on Wednesday.
That's disgusting.
People sweat.
I sweat.
Natural.
I sweat. It happens. But I also wouldn't ask somebody to reach their hand on my back.
What's the number? What's the number? There's a number for everybody.
Yeah, you're going to have to get up there, though. $20 ain't going to do it.
All right, $100.
I'll consider it for
See,
$100.
there's a number for everyone.
Do I have to do something with it, or can I just touch
reach
it?
up there and
You
touch
get that
it?
college YouTube.
There you go. You can pay for Sunday
I'll do
tickets.
it twice. I'll do it for next year, too.
What's next, Marty?
Would you have the, what's the Italian word?
Coliones.
Would you have the coliones? Think about that. Coliones. Yeah, I do. Big old blue whale coliones.
Coliones.
Do blue whales must have
You're
coliones?
mispronouncing it. Coliones.
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 I swear to God, I've heard that conversation in a bar at 1:30 in the morning.
Idiots.
I swear. Just white guys sitting
Idiots.
there trying to figure out. Yeah.
Coliones. Coliones.
Coliones.
Coliones.
Coliones.
How many times? How many times did you guys go back?
Sounds exactly the same to me,
Did it
too.
for
Was he
5
still
minutes
saying it
straight.
wrong?
Marty, what's next?
Like, they want this not to work.
I was just gonna say that. You're running the money, baby. I want to kiss you on the mouth.
Thanks, Moj.
You're welcome.
That could be like an all-timer there. From the other room.
What's he talking about?
I have no idea. What was he
That's
talking
when he walks in with 4 minutes to go and he just screams at Brett's mic, even though he's like 5 feet away from it.
I was just gonna say that. You're running the money, baby.
I feel like that's somebody from the stands talking to Jokic or something like that. All right, what's next, Marty?
Two things would happen. One of two things. Either I'd come on the air tomorrow and my stinger would be vibrating and I'd be buzzing big time because this is long overdue.
My stinger.
I'm a little worried for next week when Moser's not here. I'm not quite sure what drunk takes will look like.
My stinger will be vibrating.
He's on his way to London right now.
And I'm sure his stinger is vibrating plenty. All right, what's next?
You what? I'm going to let it all hang out.
Okay.
Hey, Vic, do you want to see me let it all hang out?
Yeah. Is that something you might be interested in? That was a delayed yeah.
Vic, do you want to let it all?
It was a
watch him let it
delayed
all?
yeah.
Unfortunately, Vic doesn't have a say in the matter. It's always hanging
It's
out.
out anyway. All right, what's next?
Last one here.
You've never seen a grown man pull plums out of his pocket?
No.
I got nice plums in my pockets, and they stay there, and when I'm ready to go, I go. I dig them out.
And not only do you dig them out, but just right into the mouth with them. Like, you didn't blow them off. There was no brushing.
Eat the damn plum. For the record, we're talking about real plums here.
Plums. Did you eat those already?
Yes, I ate them.
Straight out of the pocket, right into his mouth.
Well, I was just taking a plum.
Still one of the strangest things I've ever seen.
I honestly, God, don't know why that's strange. I put fruit in my pocket all the time and pull it out and eat it. All
Marty,
the time.
can you back me up?
It's very strange, dude. Yesterday you had like 4 plums in there.
Do you know how many apricots I can fit in my pockets?
Bring a bag.
Right, just put it in a bag.
Dude, I can go 8 deep on apricots.
You bring a backpack
Why?
like every day.
Weird, man. This is how we live. You have to eat.
You bring a backpack every day. Just put them in there. Put them in a bag in there. Like, God forbid you have a plastic bag for
What's
your plums.
wrong with your freaking pocket, dude? It's next to your body. It's right there. Nobody's in it.
Yeah, exactly. It's right next to my body. It's hot. There's lint in there. Like, I don't know. I don't want to eat your warm plum. Sorry, Vic. All right. Oh, disturbing way to end the show.
I have a burger in my back pocket. You want?
Yeah, like just pull some pretzels out of your pocket.
All right, I'm going to go tour the stadium. Mile High right now. They're doing a media tour. I got to get over there.
All right, enjoy it. Guys, thanks so much for having me. Marty, really appreciate everything you do. You make it possible for me to come in here and fill in. Excited to be here always, so I appreciate it.
Had a great time with you, Robbie.
Stay tuned. Chaz Demps next. It's Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.